arrogant, throwing fits, ripping shit, tearing it, imperative. Then I'm killing this mic no matter where I live. These derelict rappers acting the fool, this embarrassing is flagrant. That's the nature of this entertainment, and we can't even change it. Guilty before arraignment, now the system tainted. But when we speak, they all laugh at us. And y'all wonder why I'm lacking trust. Try to fight a giant with attorneys that can back them up. That's church versus science, both sides start acting up. I'm late on my assignment, hopping up a mile high, climbing, obviously never silent. New alignment, I'm defiant, cannot describe it. Used to describe it as a young graffiti artist. Before the beard, I always got carded. Hit every bar, even though my bar has been the hardest. The scars on my face said I ain't always been the smartest, but I'll show you where my heart is. I said I'll show you where my heart is. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody will ever see. I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, I can show you where my...
The type of guy that would ride with the breeze. I'm higher than most people, I'm cold and icicle freeze. I'm liking to Mike Tyson, I'm a bison, a beast. I'm high like Jamaica, like right by the beach. My pops is from a spot where they're fighting for peace. 8 years old, out there watching people fight in the streets. All these sirens only make the violence increase. Yeah, we're still not loving police. It's that bright young American, nice, dumb, arrogant. Tight on a mic, but he might need a therapist. Heart full of kerosene, head full of fairy tales. Said that you're my homie, you don't know me, but I know you very well. Roll back on some West Coast shit. This whole track is wetter than your dress code kiss. About to hit the track, running on some retro fit. It gets so lit, I guess so, bitch, now let's go.
I can show you where my heart's at. See it on my sleeve, even if the beat stops, my soul will not leave. If I never stood tall, nobody...
Love it. Breathe a little bit. Get it going.
Stand in my phone booth.
It's Tuesday, baby. Welcome to a little sports nonsense and whiskey. Hanging with the fellas. Pinky, you're back, baby. Good to see you. How was the vacay?
It wasn't a vacay, man.
Yeah,
I was working.
Nah, ladies and gentlemen, don't let him fool you. Don't. He said he went down there from work, but based on the messages we acquired throughout the week, I didn't look like a whole lot of work was getting done.
When Pinky got off work, he had a good time.
Cheers, my guy. Cheers.
But I did work every day while my wife and daughter just hung out and played at the pool. So I worked.
Well, glad to have you back, my guy.
It was fun, and it's it's strange when every time I go somewhere and take a break from the podcast, my week just feels off. And it's only, we hang out for 2 hours and we just talk shit and have fun. And it just, for whatever reason, the week does not feel right if I didn't do the podcast.
I understand. I mean, this has been our routine for, dude, we've been doing this for almost 4 years now.
Been a little while.
Yeah, we've been steady and going strong. It's changed a little bit. Started off with only audio, no video for the first year or so. Then we upped our game a little bit and started to try looking at some new things. And we lost a couple guys. We gained a new guy.
My guns look good.
We're evolving continuously. So, good times. Robert, welcome to Tuesday. A little sports
appreciate it.
Whiskey, my guy. How you doing?
Absolutely. Doing well. How are you doing?
Yeah, he's got whiskey, baby. He had a day.
I just felt like I was the Leo meme.
I'm having a week. So,
man, I will say, boys, I was so happy to get back to Colorado where it's still warm, but it's not Satan's asshole hot. It takes a real man to live in Texas, guys. I tell you. And I am not that man.
No. Is San Ann humid? Is that part of Texas humid?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Tuesday was the record. It was 117 heat index with like 90% humidity or something stupid.
Dude, that's worse than Phoenix.
So yeah, it was nasty, man.
Gross, dude.
And he just like, and again, like there was moments where I was like, okay, it's hot, but in heat, it's fine. But like when you walk out of air conditioning and you just walk in and it hits you like a brick wall.
Oh, dude, I'm well aware of the humidity. Like Nebraska, people are like, it's not blah, blah. It's like 85, 90% humidity in Nebraska. It's terrible.
Look at Haley say hi.
Right.
We don't see Haley on the pod very often. So.
We need to get her on after one of these nights we do UFC so she can talk about how she feels. Because every time watching her, it's great. Her face when a couple weeks ago when you went to San Antonio, the dude's arm that was about to snap, she was about ready to squeal.
Oh, yeah.
She enjoyed that fight. That was her favorite one.
That was rough, man. That was rough.
Are we is 303 getting canceled? Because it sure feels like it now.
I am not so sure that's going to happen, and I'm kind of nervous. I'm very nervous that that's not going to happen.
I always said, and you know this, I always said Conor will fight again. I no longer believe that, and I am bummed about it.
Well, there's a rumor that he's trying to take the spot to fight Paul on the 20th.
Yeah, I know.
Even though Paul got that fight rescheduled for November.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I can't blame him if that's what he goes and does, because that's a much bigger payday.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So more power to him. I'm not ever going to knock a guy for going and getting his bag. It's just a bummer because I think Conor was on the verge of becoming the greatest MMA fighter of all time, and then he took that Mayweather fight.
What I feel bad for is he has kept Michael Chandler in a holding pattern for a year and a half.
Who cares? It's not like Chandler's fighting for a belt.
But he'd be fighting.
Okay, I mean, he could have taken another fight instead of he could. That's not on McGregor. That's Chandler could have taken a fight.
McGregor keeps saying he's going to fight. This fight's been billed for over a year.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could have easily been like, you know what? I don't believe it's going to happen. I'm going to go take a fight that I actually get to do. Like, I'm not. Chandler's only staying in it because he knows it's the biggest payday of his career.
Right. That's
the only reason he's.
It's exactly why he's hung around. But he doesn't get that payday if they don't fight. So that's a year and a half of this guy not earning.
I would like to think Dana will take care of him in the back.
Please, fool. Dana works those dudes like slaves.
Yeah, he does, but he also I believe takes care of him just enough to keep him around. So if Conor bails, he'll do something to get Chandler.
I mean, Michael's fighting. I have no doubt that there's a fight occurring.
Exactly.
At 303. I don't know who Chandler's fighting, but he gonna fight somebody. He ain't went around a year and a half, trained for a year and a half to not fight anybody.
Yeah, so Conor doesn't take that Mayweather fight and Nurmagomedov, because I can never say his name correctly, and I'm sorry about that, but Conor smokes him. I fully believe that. If Conor never took any time off, he smokes him. Lays him out, I believe.
It would have been a really good fight. I don't know if I could go that far. I can't get on that fence with you, buddy. I can't get over there.
That's fine.
There was a tweet that went out today, just looking it up here.
Yep.
That all the feelers about replacements were being sent out. All systems still seem to be a go again.
I mean, we're talking 18 days. I mean, it's not too far away. So, but maybe now that they've rescheduled that Paul fight, maybe that's out the door, and now we can move along with this one.
I hope so. I want to see that walk. I want to hear the one and only Notorious. I want to hear that from Buffer.
I kind of agree with this. I mean, Conor's not been taken to the ground very often. He doesn't have a lot of. I mean, he's got some game on the ground, but
Conor would have popped him straight in the face when he came in attack.
I don't know, man.
He had basically a year off before the Mayweather fight, building up to it. Then the Mayweather fight, which was a 6-month tour or so. and then he had another year or so.
I mean, if you give me prime McGregor, no time off, right from right from his prime, he's got a shot. But
from my perspective,
Khabib's a bad matchup for him.
Nah, because from my perspective, I would say the majority of the time, when you get the best striker and the best wrestler guy together, the striker usually wins. And you can go all the way back to Iceman for that. When he was doing Couture and that battle was going down, that left of Liddell would lay him out. And then the right would lay him out. Conor would have done the same thing. But you take that much time off from MMA to go try and basically learn a new sport, you're going to look rusty. You're going to look slow. And on top of all of that, how motivated was he really when he came back? The dude had already secured a bag twice with the Mayweather fight and then his proper 12. So, those things don't happen. Hungry Conor, I still think he would have gone down as the best all time. I think he would have surpassed Jones.
I don't even think Jones is the greatest all time.
Who would you put above Jones?
I'd put Anderson Silva. I'd put I think Volkanovski is better than him.
What?
Jones has got tons of talent, but literally, man, he's like oversized. Like, I would have loved to see Jones fight Lesnar. Let's see what happens in that matchup. Like, I just think John Jones has a great amount of talent that he wasted with cocaine and all his bullshit.
Well,
and I don't put him on that list. I don't care. And I know he likes to argue. He'll get on Twitter arguments about it. He'll get butthurt.
You're crazy, dude. That dude smoked anybody that's walked in the ring with him. Smoked him. Every single person he has smoked.
So, Alex agrees with me. Conor would have zero chance against Khabib. Zero chance.
Oh, no. Khabib just whoop his ass.
That's simply not true, because in the fight that they had, it was fairly even until Conor got taken down. Conor looked out of shape. Conor did not look motivated.
But what would he have done to keep him from taking him down? Like, Khabib took everybody down. Like, what would Conor have done differently to not get taken down?
Straight in the dome. And Conor's ground his takedown counter defense was never bad. So if he was still in his prime and hadn't taken all that time off, Khabib isn't taking him down as easily as he did, and he's not holding him down as easily as he did. I don't see it going that way. I just don't. Khabib is so overrated, like crazy overrated.
So I can agree.
Who he fought was nothing, and then when he retired, there were guys coming up that a lot of people felt could have beat him, and he wanted no part of it. He's like the Mayweather of UFC.
I think the lightweight division is in a much better place today with capable challengers than there was 3 years ago when he left. So I agree with you on that. And I do think Khabib is a little overrated. I will agree with that.
But he didn't switch weight classes. Conor fought what, 3 different weight classes? This would be his 4th?
2. This is his 3rd.
This would be his 3rd? Okay. So he still fought multiple weight classes.
He started at 145.
Middleweight, right?
No. He started out at like so lightweight is 155. He started at 145. So he held 2 belts. He held 145 and 155 at the same time.
Right.
So he has not fought at 170.
I know. This is
his opportunity to fight at 170. And I get if he were to beat Chandler, I don't think the UFC would make him wait. I think they'd give him a title shot.
Oh yeah,
and the champ, and I think the champ would be more than happy to give him a title shot because it's Islam, and Islam would be like, "Yeah, give me that money." So
yeah, exactly.
Islam would stomp Conor. Islam would stomp Conor, bro. He would stomp Conor.
If Conor beats Chandler and he's truly motivated, I think, dude, you're underestimating how great Conor McGregor is.
All of Conor's fights that he went on his streak were all against strikers, man. Those were all strikers. Those were not top of the line wrestlers that can literally just take you down and just beat you up from that position. And that's what Khabib would do with him 99 times out of 100. And there'd be that one time where Conor does get like Khabib shooting in and Conor just gets him real quick and it's out. That could happen, but
that's what everybody thought Couture was going to do to Liddell, and Liddell smoked him. Smoked him.
He didn't smoke him. Both of those fights went deep. He did knock him out, but those fights went a while before it happened.
He still so he was able to fight off the takedown defense and then smoked him. I think that's what Conor would do. I just, because there's so much question regarding it with the time off Conor had and the fact that he left the UFC in his prime, that's why I will always believe Conor's the better fighter. And the fact that Khabib, I never watched the Khabib match where I was like, yeah, that dude is the most dominant guy in the UFC. I never watched a Daniel Cormier fight thinking he was the greatest thing ever either. So nope. That's what I see Khabib as, is a smaller Cormier, in all honesty. And they train together.
Well, I disagree with you, and that's okay. It happens. God, Robert just brought that. Like, we got right out. Like, we didn't even talk any nonsense.
I will agree, though. Prime Silva the Spider was special.
The Spider Silva was. And again, I met him. I've got pictures of Spider with him and my wife. He signed a magazine for me. He started talking Spanish to us, and then was like laughing because he's like, "You guys don't know Spanish, huh?" And I was like, "That's fucked up, man."
He doesn't speak Spanish. It's Portuguese.
Portuguese, sorry. Whatever. Close enough.
No. Yeah. I mean,
language adjacent.
There you go. That's acceptable.
So I have a special place in my heart, but he had those moments where, like, during his streak, it didn't matter who came in. And again, different game at that point. The fighters weren't well-rounded as they are today, but his timing and his movements were just on another level.
Oh, dude, when he started doing you knew somebody was about to get laid out when he started.
Even later in his career, I mean, he fought toe-to-toe with Cormier. Cormier just laid on him for 5 rounds. He fought Adesanya to a decision as well. Like, Adesanya is basically the newer version of him. Way past
his prime, too.
And he still fought to a decision. He fought to a decision against Jake Paul. So, I think, to me, Anderson Silva is my number 1 of all time. And if you want to put John Jones in there, I won't like fight you on it. But to me, he's the biggest wasted talent of all time, because he truly could be the guy like that. We're just like, this guy's undefeated. He's never been beaten, and he's amazing. And we just don't have that from his career.
I mean, what's crazy is I could probably agree with you that he's the biggest wasted talent, and he's still number 1 in my book, which is absurd to think about.
But again, he came back, fought a Cyril Gain, beat the brakes off of him because that guy was overmatched in every aspect.
Yeah, but everybody thought that guy was going to be. Everybody thought that guy was going to be damn good.
He wasn't ready though. He wasn't ready. And
well,
yeah, Jones did put him in his place.
That's why the Stipe fight is such a big deal. And the fact that, unfortunately, Jones got hurt during training and we've had to postpone and now wait for it. But that's now Stipe's kind of past his prime, right? So it's not necessarily the best matchup you can get, but I honestly believe
I got to meet Stipe as well. Actually, I like Stipe a lot.
I think I do believe that Ngannou kind of ducked Jones, because I believe if they fought, Jones wins and Ngannou loses his cash cow, and then would not have been able to go to the boxing route. He would not have been able to cash in. So I think he kind of looked at the lay of the land and said, that's not really worth it for me when I can go do the Conor make money thing and just kind of say I'm the baddest man in the world and not have to actually prove it. Anybody that says Jones was ducking anybody doesn't understand how hard it is to go from a light heavy to a true heavyweight. Like, to put that on your body and make that your true walk around weight.
Well, I mean, he wasn't too far away. 205 to 225 is not a big change. So
it is when you're talking about that being the muscle mass. Just putting on weight is one thing. When you're doing it to be truly walk around weight.
In his heyday, he probably walked around at 225 and had to cut weight to get to 205. So I don't
believe that. I believe that.
But I don't think it was that hard for him.
The difference is now he walks around at 225, and then by the time fight rolls around, he's probably hitting 240, 250. You know what I'm saying? It's not he's fighting at 225 anymore. He put weight back on after he cut to get down to the heavyweight.
He looked fat as hell in his last fight, so
hey,
he put it on the wrong way.
Look, I didn't look like it slowed him down any.
Yeah, so, it did not.
And I think people are forgetting that his brother is arguably the best defensive end in the league at times. So there's a genetic disposition there, if you will, within the family where super athletic and super big dudes is a natural thing. So
you know what I feel like we need to do for Robert Caleb?
What?
I feel like we need to put together a nostalgic video of our top sports moments of the last decade. So then has something.
I'll watch the hell out of that.
So then he knows what's happened over the last decade now that he started getting into sports.
Are we just going to get him like a 50 first dates video that he wakes up to every morning and just hits
fuck yeah. That's what I'm talking about. This is how I wake up every day.
We just put him in the chair.
Live, breathe, and eat that shit.
We put tape on his eyelids so he can't close them. Put him in front.
Yeah, like did they do that in one of the recent horror movies? I forget.
I mean, I'd like to say we could just stab something in the back of his neck and download the last 10 to 15 years into his brain.
Dude, like he's in the Matrix. Matrix Tron shit.
Oh, that's hilarious. That's hilarious. Yeah,
because I can always tell when Robert's like, I don't really know what the fuck these guys are talking about.
Hey, he's growing and learning and educating from this moment forward.
And I was actually realizing I'm kind of letting everybody down because, this Friday at 1:00, there's a big thing happening and I'm not supporting it right now. So I probably should go put on my Germany jersey in a moment. So, that's kind of something I should probably think about.
I thought about wearing a football jersey and I was like, it's too hot. Too hot for that. Got to go no sleeves.
Ugh.
No.
Nope.
Let's see. Well, I guess we'll just keep rolling with the sports.
We can save nonsense for the end.
We jumped in. Sometimes we do that. We'll bounce around,
We're flexible.
Intense.
We're flexible.
Any nonsense? Is there any nonsense that anyone would like to throw out there?
We'll move it to the end.
We can save it to the end.
We got that conversation that's going to take up the end.
We got some, very briefly, season 2, House of the Dragon on Sunday. Whoop, whoop. Also, sad to hear, but also all the good things must come to the end, and they don't need a Game of Thrones repeat with The Boys season 5 concluding that whole story. So that's also a big deal. Looking for that. Caleb, I'm a little disappointed you didn't say anything about The Acolyte in the group chat because you said you were making a pact with your wife to watch it, and I was waiting with anticipation.
We are.
So I gave it a week, and I'm bringing it up because I'm like, hey.
But the wife said she did actually want to watch it, and the kids decided they wanted to share a room now, and so bedtime has been a little interesting with a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old sharing a room all of a sudden. So what normally was our window after bedtime to grab those shows and watch them has taken a little bit of a rewind here over the last week. So hoping this weekend that everybody kind of settles in a little bit and we'll be able to knock out those 3 episodes. And worst case, I'll watch them by myself and then she can rewatch them with me if I have to go through this weekend. So, but yeah, she's in, she wants to see them. So I told her I'd wait and we'll track and figure it out from there. So I won't let it get past episode 3 so we can discuss one way or the other. And if I have to go back and watch them again, it's not like I'll be mad about it.
All right.
I will.
Because, I actually have to wait for episode 3 tonight because the wife works until midnight tonight. So I have to wait until tomorrow. So my phone is turned off.
I've been doing a lot of this kind of scrolling. Like when I'm going through social media, it's like sports. Star Wars.
My problem is that not only do I follow like every Star Wars page known to possible and every fan page there could possibly be, I also follow all the comicbook.com stuff, so I get alerts on everything. So not only will I have the chance, like I have increased odds of running into it, and it just gets to the point where I just turn off. Like the amount of times I've read The Boys, like, oh, it's season 5 today. I'm like, yeah, okay, I got it. Like, we're good.
Yeah, well, season 4 hasn't come out yet, right?
Season 4 comes out in like 10 days. Or no, this week actually, I believe.
Are they dropping all of it?
No. June 13th. This Thursday.
Yeah, so there's that.
Thursday we got The Boys and House of the Dragon on Sunday.
Pinky, what's your deal with House of the Dragon? You not
No, I just won't watch it until it's done. You know me. I like to binge, so I think House of Dragon was much more enjoyable than the Lord of Rings show.
That's because listen, I get it. I get it because nobody wants to watch an elf cry over a stupid tree. Like, I'm sorry. The only people that care about that are people like me and Caleb who understand what that actually means to the lore. For everyone else in the world that doesn't care about that, of course they're going to want to watch Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, any of that crap. Like,
although again,
Matt Smith, man, as a Targaryen, he gets some people going.
Although I will say, House of the Dragon lost me when they like time jumped from the younger actress to the older actress, because the younger actress was much more enjoyable, and I was like,
the time jump was it wasn't handled as best as it could have been handled.
It could have been detailed a lot better.
The problem is they're trying to cover like
a lot.
30 years within a season, and then they're gonna have to jump again. Like, it's gonna have to jump after this season a great deal. Like, we're what, 3 generations from the actual Game of Thrones. So
yeah, it was like 100 years or 200 years or something.
Yeah, so there's like the Mad King isn't even there yet. So they had to do something. It could have been handled a little better, but it wasn't season 6 and 7.
But again, I enjoyed that much more than the Lord of the Rings, so I am excited to watch that. And the wife watched it with me, so it's a show that we can watch together when it's done. Because
it's dragons. It's dragons.
Yeah, dragons.
I'm in.
Yeah.
And again, I will say, so Pinky, again, you're talking to a person that lives and breathes this crap. All of this has already been told. Every storyline has happened and so on. It's not like Game of Thrones where they got to season 5 and were like, hey, we're just going to pull shit out of our ass and tell things that don't make sense anymore. This already has been told, and there's already been things planted for what's coming. So this first episode is titled A Son for a Son. It is brutal.
Is it Red Wedding brutal?
Worse.
Ooh.
Because they've already Aegon's wife, his sister, has a fortune telling ability, and so she speaks in these riddles, and nobody understands it. So when you go back and watch it, one of them is right before Rhaenys bursts through the floor with her dragon during the coronation. She says there's a beast underneath us, or there's a beast underneath the floor. And that's her psychic telling that something's coming, because the next thing that happens from her is this dragon. And so for a son has already happened. And it's about to be Red Wedding brutal. And there's a reason why, and it's very good marketing because they're putting it out on Father's Day. So it's a pretty big thing.
George R.R. Martin might be the worst author of all time.
Oh, he's
simply because
terrible.
He started something, didn't finish it, and then took the cash grab and allowed somebody else to tell his story, and then came back and was like, well, that's not how I was going to do it.
Yeah, idiot.
Like, shut up. You don't get to say that anymore.
You gave it away. George Lucas at least told his story.
Like they're like, hey, you could do this, and he's like, nah, dumbass. And the famous words are read for me.
I mean,
dumbass.
He's pretty rich, so I mean, I don't know how dumb he is, right? You know.
I mean, yeah, he's lived a good life.
He's doing all right.
So, but yeah, so that's those are the kind of the big things that are going on. Otherwise, I was shut off to the world because I've had a gaming commitment, so I did not get any sports at all this weekend. So that was reading your guys' messages and everything.
Don't worry, you didn't really miss much.
I know it didn't seem like it, other than what happened with the men's soccer team, which I know we'll get to here in a little while. But
why don't you tell us, Robert?
I mean,
what did happen
with
the men's soccer team?
Caleb, I'll let you go ahead and start this. I'm gonna go put on my Germany jersey so that way I'm ready for these conversations, and I'll be right back.
All right, so we talked Euros last week. Copa America is going to be going off roughly the same time frame. Euros is the European nations. Copa America is it's the Americas. So North and South America, Central America. So that's coming up. U.S. had a tune-up game against Colombia, and they
got tuned up.
They got tuned up, lit up, real bad. It was ugly. It was disgusting. And I see it's a very split feeling between the fandom of players' fault, not talented enough, versus Greg Berhalter is trash as a coach manager. Anybody saying the players are not talented enough, just plain and simple, doesn't understand the game. I'm saying this as nicely as I possibly can. I'm not trying to question anybody's intelligence, but if you truly think the American talent on this squad is not talented enough to beat Colombia or hang with some of the top tier teams like Argentina, Brazil, Germany, England, you haven't been paying attention to the game, or you just don't truly understand the game itself. Because the talent level on the United States team is good enough to compete, not win it all, but they are good enough to compete. And what we saw against Colombia is, for those that don't watch soccer but are watching us right now, they pulled a Milwaukee Bucks.
Ooh.
A lot of talent on the team, but they fell on their face real hard all season.
So
it's because of many different factors, but one being, I believe, Berhalter lost the locker room when he got fired the first time around. And bringing him back to be the coach again, there was no way he was ever going to win that locker room back over. I do not believe the players listen. I do not believe he has the players' ear. I do not believe he has their confidence, their faith, their trust, anything. And I believe that's what we saw on the pitch. We saw a team that didn't want to play for the manager, didn't agree with or believe in his philosophies, and it looked atrocious. Now, I will put some blame on the players in the fact that even if that's how you feel, you can still go out and compete. And they didn't even show up to compete. So there is some of blame on the players for laying an egg. But I am tired of hearing people say the United States talent is not up to par. I gave this analogy to someone on social media the other day. The United States talent is tier 1 talent now. But if you want to think about it in this way, you look at the Premier League. There's, Robert, correct me if I'm wrong, there's 20 teams in the top tier.
20 or 24.
Okay, so somewhere in that ballpark. The United States talent is in that top tier, but they're dancing around that relegation bubble level. So they're not
20 teams.
20, okay. So they're not at the top of that yet, but they are in that tier 1 now. And for anybody to think otherwise is foolish, especially when the starting 11 is all playing in the upper leagues over in Europe and playing at a high level.
Christian Pulisic is playing for Milan. I mean,
Christian Pulisic is one of the best offensive players in Serie A right now.
Well,
Robinson is widely considered one of the best defenders in the Premier League. You can go down the list and see the talent. So for people to sit here and say the talent isn't there, yeah, I'll agree it's not there to win it all right now. But to say it's not there to compete is just a fool's errand to me at this point.
I mean, completely. And I'm trying to understand not what only were the players thinking that entire match, because like you kept falling on your face any which way you went and you had no way to recover, which doesn't say a lot for your team's chemistry, in my opinion. Secondly, Berhalter just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand that you don't have the team, and most importantly, no one is appreciating what you're bringing to the table because you've already lost it. So you need to just move on, because you're causing more harm than anything right now, and your so-called plan for this is an absolute joke.
It always was. Berhalter's grand vision never was any good. And I'll take it a step further. Robert, let me throw you some numbers, and I'll let you comment on this as far as Berhalter goes. He's had 47 games as manager against CONCACAF opponents. Name me the CONCACAF opponents that are worth anything on the world stage, Robert.
I mean, Argentina.
No, they're not CONCACAF.
Oh, they're not?
They're CONMEBOL.
That's right. Hang on, let me just double check. You make sure
There's one. In my mind, there's only one team worth anything on the world stage in the CONCACAF.
Oh, you're thinking it's got to be Mexico, but
Yep,
they're not even
Mexico's
hardly
not
worth
even
anything right now.
Right?
They haven't beaten the U.S. in a while.
Well, they just beat them in the Friendly Cup or whatever that was, the Friendship Cup or whatever that was, just recently when we rolled out our C squad and they had their A squad.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
But
I missed that game.
So that's the only team in CONCACAF that's really worth anything on the world stage. His record in CONCACAF, 34 wins, 5 draws, 8 losses. Win percentage of 72, goals per game, 2.3, goals against 1.5. So you're barely beating these other teams on a whole. Then you go to the rest of the world. When he plays anybody outside of CONCACAF,
dude gets obliterated.
24 games, a record of 9 wins, 8 draws, 7 losses, a 37% win percentage, goals per game 0.6, goals allowed 1. So when he, and this is where I'm going with this, and then Robert, you go off. When he plays below par talent as a manager, the talent on the field raises all tides. So the talent is so good that it's able to overcome poor managerial philosophies. But when he plays actual world stage teams, the talent isn't good enough to be the best there is. And then the philosophies from the manager are so atrocious that it automatically puts your talent at a disadvantage. They saw this. Everybody saw this before he got fired. Well, before he got put on leave, I'll say, because of the Rania situation at the World and everything else that went into it.
Yeah.
But everybody saw that. And then you let Marsh come in, and it looked like a completely different team with that talent. It looked like they were actually doing things that fit the talent level and allowed the players to play more free. And you decided that you didn't want to pay a top-tier manager to come coach the U.S. national team. And then you were left with the only option was allow Marsh to run it or bring back Berhalter. Well, while Berhalter is trash, and I don't believe he's a good manager at all, you could actually say the biggest blame resides with the USSF, United States Soccer Federation, because they put him back in power.
Yep.
And the United States Soccer Federation has continued to believe that the MLS is worth a damn. When you combine all those things, how do you expect the talent on the field to perform at a high level on a consistent basis. It's a joke.
It 100% is, and you couldn't have said it better, Caleb. It's an absolute joke, and the Soccer Federation itself needs to really dig deep and figure out their leadership and then go after who's going to be leading the men's team. Because at this point, Berhalter is a joke. He is going to say, oh, it's all look at these stats, bro. Your stats are awful. Yes, on the board, yeah, your players should be winning a lot of these games, but your managerial skills are trash. And you have honestly no business trying to say, oh, we have the talent to go to a World Cup and go farther. No, you don't. Because you don't even have the managerial capability to put your team up against some of the top tier players when you have top tier talent. You just don't. You're just incapable of seeing that through. For whatever reason, you won't do it.
If you're Christian Pulisic and you're balling out over in Serie A, and you're used to that type of high-level managerial style, and you come back to play for the USMNT.
Oh, I would sit the bench. I'd be like, I'm not even going to waste my time.
Your manager is mid to low-tier MLS capable at best. What do you think he's going to feel? You're not going to come out there and be at your best.
Hell no.
You're just not. And again, I'll reference it for anybody that doesn't get it. They are the Milwaukee Bucks right now. There's a lot of talent on that team, but the dysfunction is so real that this isn't going to go. I was excited for Copa America. I am not anymore. I think it's going to get ugly, and it's going to get ugly fast. And that bums me out.
Yep. Because when do they play next? It's coming. Oh, they play tomorrow at 5. Ooh.
And it's Brazil. It's Brazil. We went from Colombia to Brazil. Now, we could easily show up out of nowhere and lose 2-1, 2-0. I don't think it's going to be a massive beatdown because worst case scenario, the players don't want that on their record. So they'll just, all 11 will fall back to the defensive side and just try to keep it from getting ugly. But I don't see this being a competitive team with Berhalter at the helm. And that could be the silver lining, Robert, for all of us, because if they fail that epically, I feel like they'll be forced to reevaluate and let Berhalter go. And let's be honest. I said, there's a name that I threw at you that I said, just go pay him whatever he wants and bring him over here. And that's the Man City head man in Pep. But my brother brought a point up, and he goes, yeah, Pep's nice, but I'll take Klopp. And Klopp's actually available. And I was like, well, wouldn't be mad at that.
Like Jurgen Klopp?
Yep.
Really?
Yep. So, either would be
that
fabulous,
would be an interesting,
but they'd have to pay him one.
They would have to pay him through the nose.
Yeah, they refuse to pay, and they'd also have to let them run it because they would be smarter than anybody within the upper management of the USSF. And so I don't think they'll get out of their own way to allow the USMNT to actually shine and hire a manager worth a damn. But that would be pretty sweet because you got a 2-year window right now before the World Cup. And a 2-year window is basically the perfect amount of time to allow a manager to build his philosophy going into the next cycle.
Oh, hey, and Jurgen Klopp's from Stuttgart, so whoop whoop.
So we tried with Klinsmann. There was some success, but he also wanted to change a lot of things. And the USSF wanted no part of it. They thought MLS is the way to go. They don't believe in relegation. They don't believe in actual academies.
They need to follow the FIFA calendar.
They want pay for play. They want travel ball. They want all these things that America has ruined youth sports with to be prevalent instead of doing what the rest of the world has done for generations to make fabulous football programs. And it blows my mind. You don't see European basketball clubs saying, well, what we're doing is better than what America's doing at basketball. No. They emulate what America's doing. They just still teach fundamentals, which America doesn't because, again, the pay-for-play AAU travel ball cycle has ruined youth sports.
Truth.
So it's disappointing and gross.
Absolutely.
And it's so bad, ladies and gentlemen, that when I threw out into the group chat that Berhalter is the worst manager in all of North American sports, Pinky chimed in right away and said, fact. Berhalter is so bad that even Pinky knows he's trash.
Well, when you get fired from your job and then somehow they want you back, I don't know. And then you still suck, it just kind of adds up.
It's bad. Let's hope they can save face somehow, but I would rather them just get smoked. And
there's no way they fire him before the World Cup, though, right?
Oh no, they got 2 years. They'll fire him.
They got 2 years. That's why
it'll be after this tournament, though. It would be
after Copa.
After we get bent over and shown that we are garbage with him, then he will get fired, and then we'll actually be good. Maybe.
That's the hope. That's the hope right now, and it's wild because you look at countries like Germany, like the Netherlands.
I don't even want to talk about Germany. I mean, they've been playing well, but
I'm just saying, you think about this, England, think about the population size.
Oh.
And they're able to pull top-tier talent from that population size. You cannot tell me that America does not have top-tier talent available. But what they can tell me is that the way that talent is developed is poor.
Well, and again, like you said, the pay to play is a part of the problem, and that's why in some cases, and I would say more often than not, if you have top tier talent here, you're not staying here. You're going to get a scholarship and go overseas.
You better.
I personally, when I was working in the car repair business, a very good customer base of mine, at the time, that was what their son was qualified to do. They sent him out to Spain to go play in soccer for almost nothing. Like it was.
And let's be honest, the Landon Donovans, the Bradleys of
Clint
the world,
Dempsey's.
No, not Clint. Clint stayed over there.
Oh, that's true. Yeah,
Clint stayed over there. Clint's a beast. Incredibly underrated, in my opinion. I think he is the best American soccer player in the history, not Landon Donovan. I give Landon Donovan, Bradley, some of these other guys huge hits in a negative regard because they didn't stay over in Europe. They came back. They played in the MLS instead of playing with the best talent in the world. And then they try to give some bullshit answer like, well, I'm trying to help grow the game. No, you weren't. You were either doing it because you didn't want to play the best because it was too difficult, or you realized you weren't good enough and you couldn't hang.
And that's why you played with David Beckham at the LA Galaxy.
Yeah, absolutely. They sent American soccer back by doing that. And it took us until now to see Pulisic, Robinson, McKinney,
Matt Turner,
Bayonne, Turner, all of these guys that are now all playing in the top tier divisions of Europe. Because if you play in the MLS, you're not getting better.
Right. And I mean, Matt Turner, he is one of the, I forget where, I know a couple seasons ago he was playing for Arsenal. I know he's now with Nottingham. So, and he's a pretty decent keeper.
Turner's average, I would say. I would say he's average. So he's no Mayola, he's no Howard by any means, but he's still on the younger side. But he's not. We need a better defense in front of him to make him look good.
Sure, no, completely.
So we'll see. We'll see.
Well, that's all I got for soccer stuff.
We'll have to get with the Euros going on. We'll have to get Alex back on the show. He'd love talking some soccer with you guys. I'll just sit here quietly and drink. I'll let you guys have fun. Let's see. You guys want to do some quick hitters?
Hit me. Yeah, let's do this.
All right. We got to talk about our boy, Joey Chestnut.
Dude, what an idiot. What a dumbass.
No, Joey's brilliant.
Yeah,
what? Brilliant.
Joey's getting paid.
I mean,
now it doesn't make sense to me why Nathan's. Are you really worried about him getting money from a vegan hot dog? Come on, guys. And then he's your biggest draw. This is pretty much exactly like Caitlin Clark not being on the Olympic team. When it comes to
I wouldn't go that far,
ratings
man. I would not go that far.
Look, nobody's going to give a shit about the Olympics. The women's basketball team, nobody's going to watch. Caitlin Clark is on the bench, not playing. On the bench, people are watching. I'm
not watching the Summer Olympics for basketball anyway.
I think people are overestimating the draw she would have had for the Olympics. Would have it been a bump? Yeah. Would it have been a big enough bump to take somebody off who was more deserving? No, I don't believe it is.
She just got into. She's gonna be on the Olympic team. She's fine. 1 year is not gonna do anything.
Yeah, I understand where you're coming from with ratings.
I'm going strictly from the commercial success, not that she deserved to go.
And look, okay, sure, but all the publicity she's getting from it are only helping her in this regard, and it's only going to improve the ratings here anyway because she's still going to be playing here.
Bro, one of her last games that she played, I can't remember what, she played a team that had a losing record, and it had more viewers than the NBA Finals. That's absurd. Like, who's watching women's basketball over the NBA Finals basketball? Like, that just didn't make sense to me. So, but that's what when I saw the Joey Chestnut news, I immediately was like, I understand why they're like, wow, we're going to kick you out. But he's your biggest draw.
No, Nathan's is going to take a huge hit, and they're going to wish they hadn't, because there's two things involved here. Three things, I'll say. One, you're going to lose the TV ratings that happen on the 4th of July because people don't know anybody else other than Joey Chestnut. Two, you're going to lose the actual live in attendance that show up on the pier to crowd that area with 100,000 people every year. You're going to lose at least half of that, minimum. And third, the biggest thing, who wants to watch people compete when you know they're not coming anywhere close to what the actual best is going to do? Literally, guys, I'm a big Nathan's hot dog guy, okay? Eating competition. I've been watching it every year since I can remember. It's part of my 4th of July. I love it. It's gluttony to the finest. It is America, okay? I love it. There's something about it that is just 4th of July. Joey Chestnut's record is like 73, I think is the record. Last year he had like 69. The next closest competitor was in the 40s. Why would I want to watch a bunch of dudes who are average do something that I already know is not going to be anywhere close to competing for records? It's foolish. Nathan's is
yes, his record is 76
their own
hot dogs.
And thinking it doesn't stink. And they're about to find out that it stinks worse than anything else around them.
They have 2.5 weeks to change their position. Let's hope they come to their senses. So, yeah, I mean, I really don't care about
what Joey Chestnut should do starting right now is go talk to Impossible and say, hey, we're not going to do your dogs. We're going to do Nathan's hot dogs. So go buy us a bunch. But we'll make your money back tenfold, and I'll go grab 4 of my buddies, and we'll put on our own hot dog eating competition on the 4th of July, and you can sponsor it, and we'll let you take the earnings. And everybody would tune into that instead of Nathan's. I guarantee you.
Well, you got to do it with the hot dogs that he's sponsoring. Then
why?
In that case,
why you don't make it even a bigger punch in the face to Nathan's? Give them money and buy their hot dogs, and then watch them lose all of their viewership to Impossible sponsoring a Nathan's hot dog eating contest. It's not like Nathan's can say no. you just can't show Nathan's on the screen, right? But then afterwards, Joey could be like, yeah, I dominated those Nathan hot dogs today. What are they going to do? They can't say anything. It's not illegal to eat their hot dogs. They can't keep somebody from doing it and live streaming it. That's what I would do if I was Joey Chestnut. I'd put some sponsors together. I'd buy a bunch of Nathan's hot dogs. I'd go get 4 or 5 of the top competitive eaters and tell them they're about to make a Conor McGregor Mayweather payday and shove it right up Nathan's behind.
Man, Caleb's very passionate about this.
I am.
I'm glad we talked about that. One Major League Baseball topic.
Ooh, okay.
Aaron Judge is on pace for 60 again. He is bombing. 25 already.
He's not just bombing. He's hitting.
No, I'm just kidding.
He's hitting 302. I got to check again. Hang on. He's not just hitting home runs. He's hitting for average, too, which is just – he is the best hitter in the game right now. Ohtani is 2. The reason Ohtani is still the best player in the game, though, is because he can still pitch. He's just taking a year off to let his arm heal. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, what Judge is doing right now is absurd. What Ohtani is doing right now is absurd. I'll pull this up real quick here. Aaron Judge is at Judge is hitting 305. Ohtani's hitting 310. Ohtani has 15 home runs and 41 RBIs. Judge has 24 home runs and 59 RBIs. It's crazy. And what's even more awesome is Ohtani and Judge, they have a lot of at-bats, but they're not necessarily striking out a whole lot either. It's about on average. So they're putting the ball in play. They're doing amazing things. But what is impressive about Judge, like Pinky just said, he's on pace for another 60 home run season. It's absurd. Absolutely absurd. If the Yankees could just find some goddamn pitching on a regular basis, it would be hard to do anything against them.
Let's go, Ron.
I like
anybody named Aaron. I like him. They're a good guy.
And then I will throw out one other name. Juan Soto is balling out this year as well for the Yankees, to the point where he becomes a free agent and people are talking about a $600 million deal again. So he found his rhythm again, got out of San Diego, and is looking pretty nice. So there are some things going on in the baseball season right now that, while we do not talk about it much, I still do pay attention a little bit.
So let's see what else I got. I thought this was interesting. Shedeur Sanders, in an interview this week, said he's Tom Brady and Michael Vick.
Yeah.
Dude.
So.
And I love me some Shedeur.
It's not an awful comparison in the sense that he can throw the ball accurately and down the field and everything like Brady can. So I see glimpses of that. What people were getting mad at is the Vic comparison, and he would have been better off saying like Randall Cunningham maybe. Shedeur is sneaky athletic, and I don't think he really showed it last year.
He didn't.
He can run.
He had no
protection,
pocket presence of knowing when to stay in the pocket and make a play and when to just run and get your first down.
I don't think
he didn't have it.
I don't think it was presence, Pinky. I think it was a plain and simple business decision. I don't think he wanted to run because he knew he was going to get lit up.
But all of that time he didn't run, he got lit up because he didn't run.
He did. I believe that's more of what it was. He is sneaky athletic, and he can run a lot more than people.
He has those skills. He chose to stay in the pocket and throw the ball downfield. He's got the skills. He just got to put it, like, if he had put it together last season of running when he should have run, I have no doubt that he would have been up there in New York with the Heisman guys.
I agree.
Because that's the kind of numbers he would have put up. He would have put up better numbers overall because they would have been scoring more touchdowns. Because
for whatever
he was
reason, he doesn't like taking off. Now, saying you're Vic is a little crazy in the sense that one, you don't take off, and two, you're not anywhere close to Michael Vick. That's why I say Randall Cunningham would have been probably a better type of comparison.
I like that. I like that a lot better.
Cheers, my guy.
I like that. So I thought that was fun. And then, how about this Lakers head coaching search?
Dude.
Isn't this weird? The funniest? I mean,
I had a lot of faith in Jeannie Buss when she first took everything over from her brother and became the sole controlling heir. But since that time, outside of the bubble championship, they have been run like a second-rate dollar store organization. And Dr. Buss, it's the exact opposite of the way Dr. Buss ran that organization. And it blows my mind that Jeannie has allowed this to happen to the point now where I truly believe the only way the Lakers are coming back is if they sell. I really do. I just don't have any faith any longer in Jeannie. The front office is trash. The fact that she's got the Rambuses still there in her ear. Pelinka, I don't see anything Pelinka's done as something that's going to draw players to LA. So they're in a world of hurt right now, and it doesn't look like there's a horizon out there that they can ride.
Now again, I guess one of the easiest ways to get fired is to coach LeBron, which is one of the biggest knocks against him. It just, to me, it's hilarious that I don't think Ham was the problem. I don't think Ham's a great coach. Is he an average coach? I think he's probably an average coach, but I think they were relying on role players to be stars, and you can't do that. You can't rely on D'Angelo Russell and Austin Reeves and with that 3-point shooter they got.
Hachimura.
Well, they got Hachimura, but they got that guy from the Heat. Caleb Martin. Was it Caleb Martin? They got a 3-point shooter from the Heat that was supposed to come in. Maybe it was Max. I don't know.
No.
Max Strus, Caleb Martin. One of those guys came over. It didn't quite work out.
Why am I drawing a blank?
But I think it's hilarious that again they start going off after JJ, and we both agreed that'd be horrible for JJ. Like there's no win in there for JJ. His podcast, all of his podcasts are great. He's one of the best known voices in the NBA now. Like what benefit is there to him to coach the Lakers? They're not going to pay him crazy money either to make it worth his while. So then I think he basically had turned them down without turning them down, and they pivoted to Dan Hurley of UConn. And I think he definitely flirted with leaving, but at the end of the day, like why?
Gabe Vincent. That was the guy who came over from the Heat. Gabe Vincent. Backup point guard. Yeah, Pinky, you're absolutely right. And to take it a step further, if you truly wanted Dan Hurley, why would you offer him an average NBA coaching salary? Why would you not sit him down and say, we're going to give you something that you just won't be able to refuse? Plain and simple. And I've heard a lot of people say that, but it's true. Dr. Buss, if he wanted somebody, you were going to get paid, and he wasn't letting you leave. And the Lakers don't have that aura anymore. There's no glow surrounding the LA Lakers anymore that people are drawn to. So it's a situation where anybody that's looking from the outside in is going to go, why would I want that job when it just is going to lead to me failing? I'm not going to get support from the front office. I'm not going to get support from the players. and I'm not going to be able to implement my own system. So I'll go back to the thing I said as soon as they fired Darvin Ham, and I'm still – this is why LeBron will never be the GOAT for many different reasons. When you start nitpicking, because that's what you got to do when you're picking GOAT conversations, you look at LeBron's attitude on the bench towards teammates late in games when they're getting blown out or situations like that. And
if he's on the bench.
Right. You look at situations where, like Pinky has already said, you want to get fired, be the coach of LeBron James, because you'll be gone in 2 years if you make it that long. But then you take it a step farther. Why is he not just player coaching? And I'm dead serious about this. I'm not trying to just be a clickbait or a hot take. He is a high-level basketball IQ mind. And most people believe he's the coach already, regardless of who's sitting on the bench. Why is he not player coaching? Finish your career. You want to be the GOAT? You want to be the best there is? Put yourself in that Bill Russell conversation. Go win a championship while you're coaching and playing. You want to get above Michael Jordan? Go do something Michael Jordan never did. You want to have a true great legacy? Go do something nobody else did in this modern era. And he doesn't. He didn't do the dunk contest. The only reason you don't do the dunk contest is because you're scared. Plain and simple. And I'm not saying he's scared to compete. He's scared to then have his dunk contest compared to what Jordan did. And if he doesn't live up to that spotlight, then it's a knock against him. So he didn't put himself out there to do it. And you will never be able to convince me otherwise. And I could have LeBron himself tell me I just never wanted to do it. And I will tell him to his face he's lying. Because any true competitor will go out there and do everything you possibly can to compete at the highest level to say you're the best. And LeBron hasn't done that. He just hasn't. So while I believe he's one of the top 5 most talented players the game has ever seen, and he's in my top 10, he is nowhere near the GOAT of Michael Jordan when you look at career accomplishments in their prime and then what they did outside of that.
Except for longevity.
Yeah, but that's where
he's the GOAT of longevity.
But that's why I said in their prime, right? Because if you want to talk longevity, LeBron's going to beat basically everybody that's ever played the game.
Right.
Not basically.
I think
he does. He beats everybody that's ever played the game.
He is the GOAT of longevity.
And most definitely.
We can definitely say that without, and that's a fact.
It's I don't understand why he's not player coach. End your career. Play the last 2 years of your career as the player coach of the Lakers. Go see what you can do with this squad, and be greatness.
But that again, that's responsibility. He could be judged on that.
Exactly.
And that he could fail at that, and then it's his fault.
So I would love to see JJ Redick say, "I'm good." Nah.
Unless they throw a crazy amount of money at him, I don't see why there's no win for him.
I mean, let's be honest though. On average, LeBron coaches make it 2 years, basically. Is 2 years at $12 million a year worth doing that and possibly never being able to coach again? Or you could just do what you're doing with ESPN now, where you're on the finals broadcast, probably making, I'm guessing his yearly contract is in the 3 to 5 range right now.
I'd be shocked if his podcast, what's the name of it? Old Man in 3? Yeah. I'd be surprised if that doesn't get picked up and paid major money for. It's awesome. And it's got tons of subscribers, got tons of views. And then his podcast with LeBron's a hit too. So again, there's just like money wise, there's no reason for him to do it.
Exactly.
It'd be literally him challenging himself.
It's your foot in the door to finally being a head coach. So if that's what you really want to do, this gets your foot in the door. But other than Tyronn Lue, there has not been a LeBron James coach that has gotten a second stint somewhere else. So you're putting yourself in a position where you're more likely to fail than succeed, regardless of how good you are. And Darvin Ham could be one of the top 3 coaches in the league. We'll never know. We'll never know because the team obviously did not buy into his philosophies. They bought into LeBron James and AD's philosophies.
But I think that goes along with if LeBron doesn't buy into your philosophy, then nobody else. If LeBron doesn't follow you, nobody else is going to follow you.
Exactly. And then how can you sit here? How I'm going to try to say this as kindly as possible. How can you, as a LeBron James fan, sit here and say he's not picking these people? He has to sign off. And then he also signs off on them being fired. You are not hiring this coach and you are not firing this coach unless LeBron James is on board. Plain and simple.
Fact.
So while he might be on vacation and not in the room as part of the coaching search, I'd be damned if he's not on a FaceTime after these interviews discussing the ins and outs.
You know, I'm really sad that it looks like more and more that assistant Nuggets coach David Adelman might end up getting that job. And that makes me sad for him because I don't think that's a great job to start with. And he could end up being a pretty good coach in the future. But not going to be a great place to start.
Nope. Not for the next 2 years. It's not.
So I thought that was fun. And then, well, I thought that was all I had for quick hitters, man. So we got to talk. Let's talk hockey real quick. We'll get that one out of the way. Panthers are tough, bro. Panthers are tough. And
they're coming after it. They are hungry.
They are not giving McDavid a lot of space, man, which is what you got to do. I'm excited for them. I'm excited. I like it when a team that's never won wins one.
Yeah,
gives that to their fan base, right?
It definitely does not look like the Oilers are going to be able to do anything at this point in time. I don't know how you make adjustments when the other team's sole focus is just take out McDavid and we'll be okay.
Right.
That's tough.
Well,
man.
And their goalie's hot right now, man.
Oh, best goalie in the league right now. Not even close the way he's playing.
Panthers goalie is hot. And when you've got we've talked about it. Like in today's game, it's really hard to be a goalie. It is really hard with what these guys can do now on the ice. And a good goalie gives up 2 goals, almost 3 goals a game.
Yeah.
And they're still considered a good goalie.
Yep.
So, what he's doing right now, he's like, I don't see a way that Edmonton can win. I just don't.
I don't either. And I was pulling for Edmonton a little bit.
Could they sneak a game? Maybe.
I feel like we're going to get a gentleman's sweep. I do feel like McDavid and his boys will be able to steal one back in Edmonton, one of these next 2, and then we'll see it end. That definitely feels like what's coming.
That's a tough one, boys. It's a tough one. And then, but good for the Panthers. Like I said, it's their first cup. It's their 3rd finals appearance.
Well, and after what happened to them last year, it's kind of cool to see them back in the finals dominating.
Right. I mean, they just got bullied by the Knights last year.
They got swept, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's nice to see them come back and say, look, we know what we did wrong last year. We know what we needed to change and improve to be back here and not only be back here, but win. And they're doing it and they're showing it. And that team is hungry and playing as one cohesive unit. And that anytime you get a team doing that on any level, it's very hard to beat.
Cheers, Panthers. Get that cup and celebrate.
Get it.
And then we've got the NBA Finals. Robert, what's happening in the NBA Finals?
The Celtics are kicking ass. That's all I know.
Okay.
I shut off the outside world and played.
I know you didn't watch any of it. I've watched some of it. And what I've watched of it's been pretty much the same thing. Boston with Porzingis on the floor. The Mavs have nobody that can guard Porzingis. Nobody. And then Dallas is playing too much ISO ball. And maybe this is a Nuggets guy because like when we watch real Nuggets basketball, they move the ball around. they drive and then they hit the open guy. Luka and Kyrie are literally just playing iso ball. They're dribbling around for 20 seconds. They try to find an opening and then they shoot it up and then it goes in, it doesn't go in. And then the Celtics just, with their offensive efficiency, just keep going. You know, they just don't have those long periods without scoring. So,
well, yes, but here's what's really bad for the Mavs. Game 2, Boston is the top. I think they were the top 3-point attempt shooting team in the league this year, or they were right near the top.
They were the top.
Okay. They only hit 8 threes in game 2, if my memory serves me correct. That's bad for the Celtics. That's like really bad for the Celtics. Jason Tatum has, after all the wonderful things I said about him this year, and how I believe he might have finally turned the corner, has reverted back to the player I have said he was for the last 8 years as the most inconsistent superstar in the league. And I even took it a step further. And Pinky, if you remember last year, I said, I don't think he's the best player on the team. I think Jaylen Brown and him are right there. And I think Jaylen Brown's been given a disservice. And now we're seeing Jaylen Brown playing a lot better than Jason Tatum in these finals.
I like Brown more than Tatum, for sure.
So Tatum is playing terribly, and they're still up 2-0. Now, here's where things get interesting. I said, when we got down to the final, it was the final 8, but I said there was really only 6 teams worth anything, and really there was only 4 of them that were meaningful. And I said when we got down to Minnesota and the Nugs, you had OKC and Dallas, and then Boston, because there was nobody else in the East that was doing it.
We didn't put anybody from the East but Boston.
I had it ranked Denver, Minnesota, Dallas, Boston. And that was because Porzingis was out. I said if Porzingis comes back healthy and plays in the finals, I would instantly move Boston up to a tie with Denver as the best teams remaining in the playoffs. Denver fell on their face. Props to Minnesota. You know, they went out and took it when Denver didn't want to. Plain and simple. But then that series took everything Minnesota had out of them. And they had nothing left by the time they got to the Dallas series in the Western Conference Finals. And that's what you saw. You didn't see a better Mavs team. What you saw was a completely empty Minnesota team after that Denver series. And a young team that didn't have the experience needed to recoup and rejuvenate and roll again. So Minnesota got smoked. Well, Porzingis came back for the finals. So I said they are now the favorite because of what Porzingis causes on the offensive and defensive ends is mismatches.
He had
Dallas
a great
doesn't
game
have
1.
anybody. Yeah, he did. He came back and did exactly what I told you was going to happen. Dallas didn't have an answer. He had a solid game 2, but then he got hurt. He has a serious knee injury to where it doesn't matter what kind of treatment they give him. He will be lucky to be 70% the rest of the way.
Yeah, they're saying he's day to day.
Yeah,
but I don't think
I
he's
think
playing.
he'll come out and try for game 3. I will be surprised if he plays the rest of the series. So now we get to the point where we're back to even, okay? But Boston has a 2-0 game lead. And I said in the last offseason, Boston had the best possible free agent signing or trade that anybody had in the NBA. And that was acquiring Drew Holiday. I have been on the Drew Holiday bandwagon since he came into the league, and he's only gotten better and better over the years. I have said many times he is arguably the best perimeter defender in the league. And he's
taken a back seat in Boston a little bit.
He took
so
a back seat in Milwaukee too. Because
he still had his moments in Milwaukee that he did come out and put up 20 or 30 and be like, wow.
But
he hasn't quite had that in Boston.
That's how fabulous of a talent he is. And while he took a back seat, what did he end up doing game 2? He was 9 for 9 from the field, I believe, 18 points. And he did that all basically in the paint as a point guard because his basketball IQ is so high that he just put himself in positions to be open. And Boston is willing to share the ball. That's one thing that they have over the Mavs, like Pinky was saying. Boston's willing to move the ball around a lot more than the Mavs are. The other kicker to all of this that I didn't quite take into consideration as much as I should have, and I still believe what I said is true. If Kyrie can win a championship with Dallas, he can put himself into the conversation of greatest point guard of all time. He's gonna have to do the same thing over a couple more years, but there's a path for him now to be in that conversation. I said, I'm not saying he's in it.
I don't know if he's got enough left in the tank for that, but
that's where I'm going though. What did Boston do coming into this series? They said Luka's the man and he's going to do whatever he wants, regardless of what we do, and we understand that. But what we can do is shut down Kyrie and make him eat a bunch of crow. And they're doing that on an epic level right now.
They're really causing him fits. And again, I still have an issue with watching Luka dribble the ball for 20 seconds and then trying to get just a little bit of space to shoot up a shot. Some nights he's on for a good stretch, and then sometimes he's off. Well, when Boston just keeps coming down scoring, and you're just off for that 5 minutes, now they've got a 15-point lead. You know, you just can't play that way.
And that is why I will still say Jokic is the best player in the league, is because he can have the ball for 2 seconds of the shot clock and be more impactful than anybody else on the floor. Luka right now has to have the ball in his hands to be that guy. When he takes that next step, that next evolution in his game, and he goes more towards the Jokic side where it doesn't have to be, like he said, 20 seconds of the shot clock dribbling, and he can get the ball out of his hands, get it back, move it around, get other people involved early in the shot clock, that's when you'll see him take that next level to nobody can touch him. But I don't know if he's able to. I don't know if that is something that his game can have. I don't know that yet. I truly don't. And that will always hold him back. Now, they can win a championship with Luka the way he plays. I'm not saying they can't. It's just a lot more difficult of a road.
Well, you're banking on consistent 35+ performances every night from him. And again, that just goes along with how it happens in the game. You know,
right.
Like I said, I watched game one, and he had a stretch in game one where it's like everything he was throwing up was going in. And then he went cold for 5 minutes, and the next thing you know, Boston was up 15. Like you can't do that. You have to be consistent.
Well, and the reason they've gotten to the finals is because when that's happened throughout the season and these playoffs, Kyrie stepped up then.
Right.
And Kyrie would go off. Well, Boston has said Luka's going to do Luka. Whether he's on fire or he's missing, he's going to do it. But we can go over here to Kyrie and we can make his life a living hell, and he's not going to do anything.
And Kyrie's got some age on him. He's deep in the season. He did play a good amount of games this year as well. So he's got some tread on, he's got some tread on the tires right now that he looks a step slow at the moment.
He does. Now, I'm wearing this jersey for 2 reasons. Okay? 2 reasons. One, because it's not just a Celtics jersey.
Larry Legend.
It's a Bird jersey. I am not a Boston Celtics fan. I am a huge Larry Bird fan. And I am so tired of the disrespect for Mr. Larry the Legend, saying he couldn't play in today's era when the 2 best players in the game right now are Larry Bird incarnates in Doncic and Jokic. Okay? So that's the first reason I'm wearing this jersey.
Now,
okay,
let's be honest. If Larry had the nutrition and the training, he could play in the league. For sure.
It's not just that. If Larry had realized it's okay to pay someone to pave your mom's driveway instead of doing it yourself, he wouldn't have had a career-ending back injury. So there's.
I thought it was the bleacher. I thought it was the bleacher incident that caused that.
Nope. Nope. Wanted to redo his mom's driveway and was hauling rocks and blew his back out. So that's just a good old boy redneck hick from French Lick mindset. Why pay somebody when I can do it myself kind of thing? And that's Larry Bird. So that's the first reason I'm wearing this jersey, because the two best players in the game are incarnates of Larry Bird. The second reason I'm wearing this jersey is because I believe Boston screwed NBA fans last year and the Nuggets screwed NBA fans this year. We should have had back-to-back finals of Boston versus Denver.
Epic.
That's what we should have had, and we didn't get it. So I say all that to say this. Porzingis going down is bad. And I do believe at this point in time, because I believed before that injury happened, we were going to see Boston come back to Boston up 3-1. That's what I believed. I thought Dallas would steal a game in Dallas because the Celtics let everybody steal a game. If you allowed the teams in the East to steal games, Dallas is definitely stealing.
If the Jimmy Butler-less Heat were able to get a game, and not even like they won by 20, then the Mavs could get a game.
Or the Tyrese Halliburton-less Pacers. Okay?
No, they swept the Pacers.
Right, but I'm just saying it was a Tyrese Halliburton.
But it was close. It was
Pacers,
close.
Right? It's not like they smoked them the whole series. There were games where Pacers had opportunities to steal one. If you allow that to happen, Dallas is definitely going to steal one. Okay? So I believe it was going to be 3-1 going back to Boston. This Porzingis news is a huge hit. And I talked about it in depth multiple times before we even got to the finals. I am now in full belief that we are going to see it come back to Boston tied 2-2.
Ooh. That's a hot take.
I do. Now, I still believe Boston wins this finals because they did have the 2-0 lead. And I don't think Dallas has enough to overcome everything that Boston has, especially when, you've got Tatum playing the worst ball of the season right now. So I believe Boston still wins, but I believe this Porzingis news opens up a huge window for Dallas. And it would not surprise me if Dallas won. I'm not going to pick them. But I do believe we're coming back to Boston tied 2-2. And you're going to see Kyrie show up, and you're going to see Luka. And look, everybody knows role players play better at home. In every sport, they play better at home. It's just the weird nature of sports. So the role players will step up. And you're going to see some quality from the Dallas Mavericks back in Dallas. Whether it's 6 or 7, I'm unsure of right now because I still do believe Boston wins, but I think we're coming back tied 2-2, and Dallas is going to get 2 in Dallas.
Let's be honest, with Porzingis out, Game 3 is a lot more interesting. I'm like, you know what? Tomorrow night, I don't have anything going on. I got to sit down and watch this game.
Yeah,
I got to see what happens.
Yeah,
I'll watch it.
Yeah.
I'll be watching it.
So I think you're going to get another huge game from Luka because that's what Luka does. But I will tell you the two names to keep an eye on for Dallas from their role players, because look, Drew Holiday is going to show up. And quick side note, if you're a Milwaukee fan right now and you still think getting rid of him for Dame Lillard was a good idea, there's no hope for you. Sorry. But I believe the two names you need to keep an eye on for Dallas, going back to Dallas, is PJ Washington and Jones Jr. And I believe both of them will have quality performances in Game 3.
And I think Derek Lively will have a good game too.
I think he kind of always has a good game. Sometimes he scores a little bit more, a little bit less, but he's been really solid for him all year. So that's why that's not a name I brought up, because I think he's been pretty even keel. But Washington and Jones didn't necessarily show up in Boston. The same with Kyrie. And I think those two dudes will step up in a way that will allow Dallas to get over the edge back at home.
Oh, all right. Well, Caleb, It's time. We are exactly 8 episodes from the first preseason game. So, Robert, I think this is your first year being with us as we start to get into the dead season, which is going to be coming quick. Hopefully, I mean, the Panthers sweep and the Celtics end up sweeping. We are in the dead season real quick.
Yeah,
For you, maybe, but we've got I got the Euros and the Olympics, mofo.
Robert's not going to feel the dead season this year, just like I'm not going to feel the dead season this year because we've got Euros, Copa, and the Olympics.
Well, I better start
all day.
You're going to have some issues. You're going to have.
You'll have problems. I will not.
I just means I need to go to Sam's Club and get some more whiskey.
Yeah. Sounds like you need to just hang out and watch some football and watch this on the weekends, bro. Like, come on.
I've told Caleb I will watch a soccer game with buddies with some beers.
He will.
I will do that.
He came over and watched the last World Cup with me and my family and hung out and had some drinks.
I told you we should all go to a pub or something for these Euros coming up. We've got a whole month.
It's possible.
When do the Euros start?
Thursday?
Friday at 1 o'clock. Germany and is it Scotland?
That sounds right. Host nation.
Ooh, Scotland. That's my home country. Well,
wait, Pinkerton's Scottish and not English?
It's Scottish.
Oh. Yeah, okay. Germany, Scotland, Friday, 1 o'clock.
Alan Pinkerton came from Scotland. He started the Pinkerton Detective Agency.
I'm aware of that. I just always thought they were English, not Scottish. Fair.
I mean, they're all on the same island.
I should have known better.
They're all on the same island. I mean, technically. So
don't tell that to them, Pinky.
I know.
And let's not even throw Northern Ireland in there, okay? Let's not even get on that tip.
I was saying that out of jest. Well, we usually will talk. We'll start kind of talking.
By the way, Hannah, thanks for the backward out of camera laugh there. That was beautiful.
That was good.
Yeah, she's not listening, but she's in the room. So she's only hearing one point of the conversation, I guess I should say. So the boys, thank you for your comments.
I didn't make any comments.
Your laughter.
You laughed. It worked.
Oh, you're like my home country. Never been there.
Damn.
We're going to talk some football. We're going to talk the NFC East today. We're going to talk just kind of breaking down the division, little things that we're excited for as we start to get ready for training camps. And let's start with the Cowboys, who are the NFC East champ. They probably have the most, what do we say, bewildering, dumbfounded, confusing off seasons in recent memory. I think I've heard a couple pretty good comments about Jerry's all-in strategy, where he's basically saying, I'm not giving anybody contracts this year. They're going to go, we're all in. They're going to earn it. And it's a bold move. It's a bold strategy. I mean, without a doubt.
Let's see if it pays off for him, Cotton.
They're not paying Dak. Like that. I just don't think they're paying Dak.
They're paying Dak.
There's no way they're going to pay him $50 million.
They don't have a choice. You either pay Dak or you go back to the dark ages.
I think they have a choice.
Unless they truly believe Trey Lance has developed to the point where he's going to stay healthy and can be something. But he can't even get out of the third string down there, right? Like, is he even going to make the roster this year? Like,
he'll make the roster.
You know what I mean, though. Like,
I mean, he's backing up Cooper Rush, but he's going to make the roster.
It's crazy. They're going to pay Dak, and they should. Look, I believe Dak is arguably a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. And if he had a defense for any of these playoff runs, I saw a stat the other day. Out of it's like, I can't remember the exact number, so this is going to be kind of off the cuff here, but it's like 8 out of the 9 playoff games Dak Prescott has been in, the defense has given up 30-plus points. Like, what do you really expect from your quarterback when they have to score 30 or more to win? Like, that's not realistic. It's just not. So to knock Dak for his playoff ineptness, if you will, I think is incredibly unfair.
Well, here's the problem. Because I think you can make an argument Dak is a top 5 quarterback. I might not have him there, but I think you could make the argument.
That's all I'm saying. That's all.
I wouldn't call you an idiot. Okay. But I think he's essentially like Kirk Cousins. He can do a lot of good things. The team's got to be really good around him. I just don't think he doesn't lift anybody's game up. So, and when you're going to pay a guy $50 million, I think teams are going to have to make this decision. There's going to have to be a team that says, I'd rather go get a veteran quarterback cheaper or get a rookie quarterback than pay a guy who's, I don't see winning a Super Bowl unless the rest of the team is awesome. And we can't make the rest of the team awesome when I'm paying him $50 million. I feel like Jerry Jones is ready to rip that Band-Aid off.
It's just, well, look, they're going to have
it's a bold strategy, like Robert said.
There's 3 Band-Aids coming up, and they're going to have to rip one of them off if they want to be a competitive team. Because
they're not letting Micah Parsons go.
You can't pay CeeDee Lamb as the top receiver. You can't pay Micah Parsons as the top defensive player, and you can't pay Dak as the top quarterback.
Well, fill
out a roster.
Think about Dak and CeeDee, just those 2 dudes. With the current contracts where they are now, that would be $90 million of your salary cap.
Right. That's what I'm saying. They can't have all 3. So I think you're right. Dak would then be the odd man out there. But then you're telling the rest of the team, like, hey, we're not winning anymore. So if you want to be a Dallas Cowboy, we'll draft you and we'll take care of you long term, but you're probably not winning with us.
And I mean,
two teams, pretty solid statement, Caleb.
The 2 teams that I could see making that decision, and it is a ballsy decision, would be Dak and the Cowboys, and then Tua and the Dolphins. Paying those guys $45 to $50 million a year, it's a tough pill to swallow, in my opinion. Because I think they're quarterbacks that still need the team to be really good around them. They don't hide your flaws, and they don't make other guys really good around them based on their talents. Like the guys that you want to pay that money to, Josh Allen, Mahomes, Burrow, those. And again, there's only a handful of guys that I think actually like on their own,
sure,
and can take their teams to the promised land.
Those guys rarely win Super Bowls on their own, though, as well. Patrick Mahomes is kind of the exception to the rule, if we're really being honest.
Yeah, he happens to have a Hall of Fame coach.
Well, and he also, what everybody thought was the most absurd deal in sports history, turned out to actually be an insanely team-friendly deal in the long run.
Yeah, because they just keep restructuring it, and we'll pay you more money right now up front, and we just keep delaying that cap charge. So
yeah, and he understands it, and he knows why, and he wants to keep winning. But they're also doing things behind him that make him say, yeah, I'm willing to do that. Dallas isn't doing that with Dak. Dallas isn't going to Dak and saying, hey, you do this, and we'll then go use that money for this.
Look,
they don't do that.
Last year and this year, them not going and getting a running back was irresponsible.
I don't know if I go as far as irresponsible. Not intelligent, yes, but more irresponsible to me is running 3 linebackers out there that all weigh $150.
You still can't tell me that Tony Pollard and Rico Dowdle is we're going to run the football philosophy.
No, but at the same time, you go back and look at all the Patriots teams and what they ran out there from the running back position. You don't need a top-tier guy. You need something that fits the system.
But you need – New England always had like 3 dudes.
Right.
They had a power back. They had a third down back. And then they had a guy who could kind of, come in and do a little bit of everything.
Right.
They always had that combination. And that's what worked. But you have Tony Pollard, who's fast, and you have Rico Dowdle, who's just kind of okay, and you didn't have anybody else.
It wasn't great.
And then this year you got Rico Dowdle, and you've got an older Zeke, who actually had a decent season in New England.
He did.
But-
He did. So I still don't think that's the issue. Like the offense wasn't the problem for Dallas. It's again, when you have three linebackers that all weigh the same as I do, it's a problem. If you can't stop the run in the modern NFL, even though it's a passing league now, if you can't stop the run, you will get smoked week in and week out. And they didn't do anything to address that problem in the offseason.
Look what happened to them when they played the Packers.
So you're now looking at the NFC East as a whole, and you look at the other teams in that division, and all of them can run the ball.
Well, I think the Cowboys underestimated the Packers when they played.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think that defense also got exposed. The Dallas Cowboys defense for like the last 3 years, which we give Dan Quinn a lot of credit for, was all turnovers. If they didn't get turnovers, they'd let you go up and down the field.
They were
getting the turnovers.
Defense. Absolutely. And, take it a step further, it doesn't help when your head coach and play caller has no idea what he's doing. Look, did McCarthy have a good year as a play caller last year? Yeah, because there's so much freaking talent on the offensive side of that ball.
Mm-hmm.
But at no point during the season did you have an offense where I was watching going, that is a dominant offense. They can control the ball and they can eat clock, or they can score fast, or they can make you play the way they want. I never felt that at any point in the season.
What have we seen from Dallas for most of Dak's career? On offense, when they play a crappy team, they'll put 40 up. And then when they play an actual tough team, it's not that easy.
Outside of Tampa Bay in the first round of the playoffs, that is very accurate.
So
outside of one game, that's dead on.
So I think the Cowboys are in a tough position. I mean, it'd be crazy to say they're not gonna. They're gonna get a wild card, or they're gonna win the division. I still think they're gonna win 10 or 11 games. I don't see them falling off the map.
I see them fighting for one of those wild card spots, and I'm not gonna lie. A team we're gonna be talking about here in just a moment, I believe has just as good a shot at winning the division as Dallas does. And I know that's gonna sound crazy to a lot of people, but I do believe the Washington Commanders are going to be sneaky better than people realize.
No. Yep. The Commanders are not going to win that division.
There's a lot of talent. I'm not saying they're going to win the division. I said they're going to be arguably as good as Dallas.
I don't think that'll be the case either. I think they're still going to be that. They're still going to be the third team, but they're going to be competitive, and they're going to win 8-9 games, and they could challenge for a wild card spot. I would agree with that wholeheartedly.
Look, we always do our schedule review, and then that's how we pick actual, records.
We do that right before the season.
Right before the season. So this is me just kind of throwing out nonsense, if you will. But it would not surprise me at all if Washington and Dallas were both 10-7 at the end of the season. Wouldn't surprise me at all. I think people are drastically underestimating the amount of talent on the Washington team and how inept their head coaching was for the last decade.
I still think they need their secondary is still rough. But Dan Quinn will get good play from what they have already.
Yep.
For sure. Actually, but before we move on, Robert, what do you think about the Cowboys? We didn't even ask Robert. We didn't even let Robert talk.
So with the Cowboys, I find it a very mixed bag because with Dak Prescott, I feel like he, again, in a situation is like Kirk Cousins, like he said. He can do a lot. He has a lot of talent, but it's all about who's around him to give him that extra edge. And at the end of the day, if Dallas isn't going to exploit all of their resources to actually make a football team, what the hell are you even doing at the end of the day? Like, it's just hard to see.
Just being good enough so your fans keep paying money.
Woo. And I mean, I'm sorry, but there's been too many times. I mean, okay, let's put it into perspective. the Dallas Cowboys, based off what I know, their last championship was 96, right? Correct me if I'm wrong.
95.
Was it? Let me take a look.
So January of 96, but it was the 95 season.
So, I mean, that was 28 years ago. And the Cowboys really have been not good or great since. They get a little far, and then, it's the same old Cowboys at the end of the day. You have any idea how often I've heard that? That's all I ever hear. And I'm just like, the Cowboys are a joke. Jerry Jones is a joke. And at the end of the day, if you want a team to be good, just like Caleb and I were discussing earlier, you really got to look inside and figure out what your front staff is doing at the end of the day and take care of house. Because if you're not going to want a winning team and you're not going to pay through the nose to do it or do it right, why are you even doing it?
I mean, they do. They pay their own players.
I mean,
they
sure,
pay the guys they've drafted, and they've drafted really well. It's just they don't push their chips into the table and go all in to get
Gary needs to do a lot more lusting and a lot less loving.
Right. Like, based on them being in the playoffs the last couple seasons, would your first round, like your late first round pick, not be worth Stephon Diggs or a couple years ago, Devontae Adams,
Derrick Henry?
Actually, Devontae Adams didn't even go for a first round. He went for a second rounder and like a fourth. But your first round pick at the end of the round, is it not worth Jalen Ramsey or these trades that have happened that you're like, oh wow, teams are, the Eagles make lots of different trades, the Rams.
Dallas didn't do much at all.
Dallas has not gone all in, which I feel like
is also unwilling to dip into the salary cap. He doesn't want those luxury tax hits. He's unwilling to pay those.
There's no luxury tax hits.
You know what I mean. In the grand, it's not. That's a bad term to use because that's more NBA.
If you want to manipulate the salary cap, you got to basically front load contracts and give out cash.
Jerry's unwilling to play the salary cap game. Plain and simple. He is unwilling to play the salary cap game.
And he's got the money to do it.
So, that's part of my problem at the end of the day is Dallas can be a great team and if not better, but they got to spend money to do it. And if you're not going to spend the money, then why should we care?
Think how their fans feel.
Oh, I know.
They're always good, but not good enough.
I've got multiple friends that are Dallas fans. It honestly borders on the edge of annoyance because it's like an obsession. And I'm like, I get it. But at the same time, it's been made apparent there isn't going to be change until Jerry Jones is 6 feet under or something, an epiphany happens and something really good happens for them and they can start making changes like that and go all in, then sure. But until something like that happens, Dallas is just going to continue to be what they've always been.
The problem Dallas has is they missed I feel like they missed their window because the NFC,
of course,
with the Lions getting good, the Packers getting good, the Bears should be pretty good. You've got, I do think the Commanders are getting better in their own division. Seattle, Arizona, the Rams are good. Tampa's good. Atlanta's probably going to be better. Like, I feel like the competition has gotten better on the NFC side, whereas in about like last year or 2 years ago, I feel like they could have really made a run.
Mm-hmm. I will say this as my last thought on the Cowboys, and I will give Jerry a little bit of credit in this. And Pinky, you and I talked about this a lot. Jerry may be the best talent evaluator in the league because that is how Dallas is always good. They don't really go to free agency. They draft and develop. So I will give them a lot of credit in that regard. And what I will say is they have been fairly unlucky over the last 20-ish years. Romo fumbling that extra point attempt. When he's well, just hang on. Let me finish the thought and then you jump in. So keep what you were thinking back of your head here, or at the front of your head, I should say. And And that's something Romo had done before. It wasn't brand new to him. It was just an unlucky circumstance for whatever reason. Dez in Green Bay was a catch. It's absurd to say it wasn't. I don't know how you can be a fan of the game and still sit there and say it wasn't. It was.
The only people that say that was a catch or wasn't a catch are Green Bay fans.
And even they shouldn't. They should just be honest about what it was. So there are, and there's a few other ones I could go down the list on. There were some situations there where had things gone differently, I easily see them being the best team and winning a Super Bowl. And they just didn't. Very unlucky situations fell upon them, and it cost them.
I don't know. The best year they had was that year, the Dez catch year. I don't know if they go into Seattle and beat Seattle. It would have been a really good game. I know that. But oh God, where did I miss that? Oh, why is your starting quarterback handling kicking?
Well, didn't the punter get hurt in that game or something? So he had to come in, and there was an injury or something that caused Romo to have to go in and do the hold.
Yeah, well, then I don't know. He really shouldn't have been in there.
I'm just saying, unlucky bad breaks did cost him a couple times. So it's not all of this, they keep shooting themselves in the foot kind of thing. There have been some outside forces that were out of their control that caused bad situations at the same time. But all that being said, they also haven't done anything to really help themselves. And that's part of the problem. And
before we move on, I did have a little bit of a fantasy outlook per team as well.
That was good. I wanted to do that as well. So good.
Very easy. Dak and CD.
Yeah.
Like, grab either one of them. You'll be happy. The dark horse from the Cowboys would be Ferguson, the tight end.
Tight end. Absolutely. So, he will be, I believe he will finish fantasy as a top 5 tight end this year.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but
I don't necessarily say a whole lot, but I think he finished number 4 last year. Give me a second.
No, he didn't finish that high.
You're going to be surprised.
I know he was in the top 10. He was not top 4. Jake Ferguson, if you need to remember the name, Robert. Jake Ferguson.
I just wrote it down, actually.
He was sneaky good. They have another tight end behind him.
He finished ninth.
Right. Top 10, but not 4th. When you got Kelsey and Laporta and Mark Andrews and...
But second year in the league, 102 targets, 5 touchdowns, 760 plus yards.
He finished the season strong.
So the reason you're right. Top 4 was a little high, but that's why I believe he can get to top 5 this year. He's going to be the second passing option on that team. And his targets should improve, his yards should improve, his touchdowns should improve. There's no reason he should be regressing. So I don't think a top 5 fantasy outlook would be out of the question for him.
All right. That's way too long on the Cowboys. All right, Commanders. All eyes are on Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that's awesome. New ownership, new feel to the team. Hopefully they find a new name. Commanders is lame. I know we've all talked about that. Commanders is lame.
I personally still think they should have never left Redskins, but that's my opinion.
Right. That's the woke culture that got them in their feelings. And again, like we talked about, I don't think they ever actually went out to Native Americans and asked, "Are you offended by this?"
They're pissed about it.
Well, no, they're not.
Yeah, they're
there's a group that is, but there's also a group out there that has been fighting for them to go back to the Redskins name.
Because the logo is an actual picture of an actual previous
No, yeah, I mean they're pissed about that it was removed and it's not the Redskins.
Oh yeah,
I should clarify that. Sorry. No, absolutely. And I, again, personally, it's still the Redskins to me. I hate saying Commanders. It just doesn't sound good.
Well, don't lose money for putting $1 in the jar for calling them the wrong name.
Don't worry, Caleb still calls the Chargers the San Diego Chargers, so it still happens. A couple things that are interesting with Jaden Daniels, and again, I think the weapons are there. Brian Robinson, Austin Eckler, Scary Terry, Dotson could still be good. They did lose Samuel. I'm not sure if they picked up any other wide receiver, but
they drafted Sano, which some people had as a top tight end.
The Ben Sano from Kansas State, so the weapons are there. But it's with Cliff Kingsbury as the offensive coordinator. And his offense in Arizona was underwhelming. They didn't again, could he have learned things from his time in Arizona? And then his time a year away and he was in USC last year? Hopefully he did.
You're not completely wrong with that evaluation. The reason I kind of had the ho-hum idea is more so, was it issues calling the offense, or was it he's just not really meant to be a head coach, and those issues bled into his play calling and things of that nature?
That could be, but when we watch Kyler Murray and all that, like in the NFL, those short passing, like, in college, some teams don't run the ball much and they'll just line up and they'll throw those like quick little passes, and that works. In the NFL, like a drop pass, you threw it too quick, so the guy wasn't open yet and he dropped it. Things happen, and before you know it, it's 3rd down and 9. And now that quick pass doesn't work because you got to give it time to let a guy get down the field. Washington's O-line is not good.
Not good.
And they didn't really do anything to improve it this offseason. So,
well, and the Cardinals offense took a step back when Kyler stopped running. Now, was that Kyler's decision? Was that play calling decision? That's why there's a lot of questions kind of up in the air still about the Arizona days on a lot of different fronts because of the way things happen. There was a point, Pinky, where I think it was his second year in Arizona, we kind of all had them winning that division at the start of the season.
Right.
So we were, I won't say high on Kingsbury, but we definitely felt like he was capable for a time being there. And then we've kind of all gotten off of that. So can he be a great play caller, just not a great head coach? He's got some things to prove for sure. But like you said, there's talent on that offensive side of the ball for him and Jaden Daniels to work.
It does make Washington interesting. Their games should be fun to watch.
Well, and then, like you said earlier, Dan Quinn's the head coach. That defense will definitely play better.
Absolutely.
Dan Quinn should get the defense playing better. They had a really, their first 5 picks in the draft, I really like.
Yeah.
And I think they're all starters.
Yeah.
So they got Daniels. They got Newton, who's a defensive tackle.
Yep.
They got Mike Sandstrom, who's a cornerback from Michigan. They got Ben Sano, tight end from Kansas State. They got Brandon Coleman, who's a tackle from TCU. And they got Luke McCaffrey, who's a wide receiver from Rice. All 5 of those guys, I think, are going to contribute as rookies. So
don't get fooled by the McCaffrey name with Luke, guys.
I think he'll be okay.
He will be
he's just a possession receiver.
He'll be a fourth option.
Sure.
I'm not.
I think he's going to be solid. I don't think he's going to be a 100-catch guy or anything like that, but he'll be solid. And that's what they need.
He's a dollar store version MVS. That's how I see him.
I bet he's got better hands than MVS.
I'm not talking about hands. I'm talking about what production you'll see from him.
I think you'll get a little bit better production than MVS.
Think that name is fooling a lot of people. I followed him very closely because he started at Nebraska, and I never.
But he also started at Nebraska as a quarterback, so
yeah, and then he was.
He's only played wide receiver.
I know,
year.
and his dad was a wide receiver, and I get all of that stuff. I'm again very familiar with the situation, but Rice was his 3rd stop after Nebraska, so he bounced around a lot before he finally decided, if I want to play this game, this is something I'm going to have to do. And even then, the competition he played while he was at Rice was nothing spectacular. So I don't think he's going to be much in the league personally. That's just me. If I'm wrong, cool. Good for him. Go be your dad and your brother and and have a nice solid career in the league. I just don't see it.
I think he's going to be just a solid guy that you can count on, and he'll catch, 40, 50 balls a year. Is that amazing? No. But is it solid and helps? Sure.
Oof, that's a lot of balls considering you've got McLaren, Dotson, and Sano ahead of him.
I mean, he's not going to catch it this year, but he'll get there.
That's fair. But you're not wrong in the fact that you're right in the sense that he's a solid possession guy. He is a high IQ football guy. I will not take that away from him. And again, with the amount of talent I do feel they have on the offensive side, having him as kind of a, lack of a better way, a back end luxury piece to help your quarterback out isn't a bad thing.
Robert, what do you think about the Redskins this year?
Definitely a fresh team. Definitely someone that I'm excited to watch. That was one of the teams that I grew up with. My dad always getting excited about. So I'm always excited to see what they're gonna do. When I lived in DC for the time being, it was cool. That was when Kirk Cousins was around, and again, followed him forever. You guys know that. So I'm just excited to see them actually bring something that's worth a damn again, and hopefully compete. That's really where I stand on the Commanders. It's all fresh, it's new blood, but I really think they've got some weapons that can bring some heat and some pressure to a lot of people. So,
side note, chuckling to myself, Robert says back in the day Kirk Cousins, and I'm thinking Mark Rippon and Art Monk.
I mean, again, talking to somebody who grew up with this like 10 years ago.
I'm thinking Doug Williams.
Again, it's been 28 years since the Dallas Cowboys have actually done anything meaningful in the NFL. So,
Pinky, we're not old enough to actually remember watching Doug Williams.
You're
only a couple years older than me, so there's no way you remember watching Doug Williams.
I did not watch that Super Bowl. My first Super Bowl was the 49ers Broncos thrashing.
But you'll remember Mark Rippon, Art Monk, and
I do remember that one. I did watch that one. Fantasy-wise, only two things you got to know about the Commanders. A, Scary Terry is always good value. He goes late, or he goes middle rounds right now. He always performs.
If you can get Scary Terry as your third wide receiver, you're good.
Absolutely. You're feeling really good.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels, I feel like can provide you really good value because he's probably going to run. That offensive line is not good. So he's going to get some rushing yards. What I'd be worried about is, like last year, Anthony Richardson got really overvalued in fantasy.
Yeah.
Which again, there was that potential, but you have to overpay for that. And I think that's what kills you in fantasy is when you overpay for potential.
There's only one rookie this year that you should be drafting as a possible starter for you, and that's Caleb Williams because of what he's walking into.
Fantasy-wise, absolutely.
Jaden Daniels, you could draft as your second QB, and have him as your bye week fill-in.
In a one QB league. In a one QB league, you draft him as your second QB. You make sure his bye week doesn't match up with your starters, and halfway through the season, maybe he's just like crushing it, and you could flip him in depending on who you grabbed
for matchups and things of that nature. So yeah. But you're talking taking him. Let's say your league has 14 rounds. You're looking at Jaden Daniels in like the 13th. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I don't want him too high. Just again, I feel like he's got that possibility because of his running. When you have a quarterback that can run, they give you a pretty good floor every week.
They do, but he's also an insanely accurate passer that, for whatever reason, people don't seem to want to talk about. So it's not like he's void of passing capability.
I mean, I think he's got just two knocks coming out of college. He had two knocks on him. He had one tremendous year. His other years weren't awful, but he just had one tremendous year, which he won the Heisman.
Burrow.
Right, Joe Burrow, same thing. And then you had his slight frame.
Slender man.
He's a little bit small
He's
form.
Kevin Durant in NFL form, like
right. That's when you've got guys who are 300 pounds running 4.5 at you and hitting you. It's a different story.
It changes things, but he's also never had any major injuries. He's almost like I won't put him on the same level as, but in similar fashion of Lamar Jackson, where he just finds a way to for the most part, avoid the really big hits.
Lamar was very slight of frame when he joined the NFL as well. He is definitely
Lamar
pulled out. And
compared, you look at RG3, who had no idea how to avoid getting smoked and almost looked for it, it seemed like, to Lamar Jackson, who every time you think he's going to get lit up, finds a way to avoid that big hit. His injuries have never been because he got lit up. It's just, tendons and things of that nature. And then you get Jaden Daniels, who, if you watched him play, there is one time that I can remember him getting lit up, and it was running towards the sideline, and he just chose not to get out of bounds quick enough. But other than that, there's not very many instances of him getting just destroyed. So that, at least as a Commander player and fan, you can have a little bit of safety in knowing that he understands how to avoid those for the most part. So that helps a little bit if he does have to take off running more than you expect.
And Robert, fantasy-wise, the other kind of the value pick that I think you can actually get really good value on this year is Austin Eckler.
Okay.
After a pretty bad previous season.
Pretty bad, awful last season.
Awful season from last season. I don't see anybody grabbing him early at all.
No.
That if you can get him as your third or fourth running back, you got two studs, and then maybe you're trying to take some chances. That's the guy I think you could take a chance on, and he could provide some pretty good value.
Okay.
Now, we talked about Scary Terry being a steal if he's your third wide receiver. Dotson could also be that same steal as your third wide receiver this year, possibly. We don't know what kind of chemistry Daniels is going to build with those two yet.
If you go running back heavy, and then you grab two decent guys, and then when you're looking at the list for your third guy, Dotson, sure. He could provide.
There is potential for him to have a solid season. But a lot of that depends on, what Daniels does as the quarterback. But he will be their number 2 receiver. So that's where it becomes an interesting option.
All right, guys. This one's going to go really quick.
Real quick.
The New York Giants.
I feel bad for Brian Daboll, to be perfectly honest with you, because I think he's a damn good coach.
Brian Daboll is most likely a dead man walking. They overperformed his first year. I don't know how it worked that he made the playoffs and then won a playoff game his first year.
He's that good of a coach, in my opinion. And then you lost your starting quarterback last year, and things went downhill.
That roster is awful. And
Joe Sheen, what's the GM's name? He's trash.
Well, did they replace him or did they keep him?
I thought they kept him.
Maybe they did keep him.
I'll double check real quick. Continue.
Yeah, double check. Literally, their quarterbacks are Daniel Jones and Drew Lock. Neither one of those. There's people out there saying Drew Lock could win the starting job.
Yep, there are. And
I'm a Drew Lock fan, but I've watched enough.
Joseph is still their general manager.
Okay.
That dude has no eye for talent. Zero eye for talent.
Well, I feel like it's just it's roster construction. I just feel like he doesn't. He just hasn't understood how to construct a roster. When you take again, and Saquon's an amazing running back, but you can't take a running back number 2. That's a luxury pick. If the rest of your roster is amazing, and somehow your starting quarterback got hurt, so that's why you have the second pick of the draft, then you can take Saquon. When your roster sucks, top to bottom, you can't take a running back at 2. You just can't do it. So
can't do it. And there's Giants fans out there now talking about how they're happy Saquon's gone. He was injury prone. I'm not going to go down the injury prone versus injury right now. I'm not going to have that full on explanation for those that don't understand it. But what I will say is,
look,
any Giants fan out there saying Saquon Barkley was not your best player is blind, refuses to say anything bad about their own team, or truly has no idea what they're talking about.
Year 1, year 4, amazing. Year 5, pretty good. But year 5 was mainly Daniel Jones was out most of the year, so he had DeVito, Tommy DeVito playing quarterback, Tyrod Taylor playing quarterback. Like what's Saquon going to do when you can stack the box and the O-line's not good anyways? Exactly. So and Saquon amounted, I think his percentage, it's like 40% of their offense was Saquon Barkley.
Yeah,
that's gone.
They had no wide receivers. Like, what were you expecting from your running back?
Right. So
outside of wide receiver on a football field, the running back is the most dependent position on everyone else around him.
They're going to be the worst team in the NFC East. I do think they have a shot at being the worst team in the league.
Yep.
Next season. Although DePaul's a good coach, but I just don't know if he can overcome the deficiencies that they have. And
well, you know what's really disgusting is the fact that they paid Daniel Jones is crazy to me. And I won't say Daniel Jones supporter, but I do believe he's shown enough flashes to where there could be something there. The Giants just couldn't afford to wait and see what those flashes could turn into.
But isn't that the same scenario of Kirk Cousins and Dak?
Yes, yes.
We saw something good of him, so we don't really want to start over. We're not really sold on him either, because they only really his deal was $40 million a year, but it was only really 2 years.
Well,
after this season, they can kick him.
Re-signing Daniel Jones, in my mind, was a luxury that you didn't have, because you only re-sign that quarterback if the rest of the roster is really good, and you're waiting to see if that quarterback can be what you need. You can't do that. You can't continuously roll that quarterback out there to wait and see if he's capable if the rest of your roster is terrible.
What happened is they overachieved, and he got them to the playoff game, and he won a playoff game. And then they were like, okay.
Themselves. Nobody else in the league was going to pay Daniel Jones $40 million a year.
Well, the problem is they paid him early. They didn't have to pay him.
They should have paid Saquon and franchised Daniel Jones.
They didn't have to franchise. Oh.
Yes, they did have to franchise it.
I thought Daniel Jones. Oh, he did. Well, gosh, he's played a lot longer than I thought then.
Yeah, that's the problem. That's the problem.
Catching up too, Pinky. Don't feel bad.
and how much has he actually played compared to how much has he actually missed? And it's not his fault. Like, his body failed him, so be it. But you can't continuously, after that many years, go, what if? No, you have to say somebody else could deal with the what if. We have to start over.
Right. It doesn't take
too many times, and I've said this. I pound the table on this all the time. There are too many people in the NFL who don't deserve their jobs, who continuously get to keep them because of the good old boy system, who sit there and say, I'm going to wait and see how this plays out, rather than ripping the damn Band-Aid off and just starting over. The NFL is built to completely turn your team around and go from zero to the best in 3 years.
With the rookie salary cap, the way it is, if you miss on a quarterback, it's easy enough to get out of it.
Yes. And the Giants could have, and they chose to bid against themselves to keep him. Again,
right.
Nobody else in the league was going to pay Daniel Jones $40 million a year. No way will I believe that.
I don't think anybody else was like looking at Daniel Jones and being like, yeah, I want that guy.
And then on top of that, they used their first pick on another luxury. Malik Neighbors, I think, is going to be a beast. But You can't
So
take
hold
him there.
on. I guess the only other guy they could have started taking a tackle, but they just drafted 2 tackles in the last 5 years. So I feel like they didn't want to give up. I didn't think they wanted to give up on them yet. And the defensive players weren't amazing to say we should draft them at like they were in a tough 6 was a tough spot. Like it really was.
Trade out.
I don't think they got the offers. I don't know.
They're a greedy organization, and they always want more than what they deserve. So if you weren't being asked what you feel you should have for 6, you take the best deal available because it's what's best for your team. What is Malik Neighbors going to do? You're going to waste him for the next 3 years. Minimum.
Well, I mean, Daniel Jones is gone after this season. So we can't – I can't say that that's like Neighbors are going to be a waste next year. We don't know what quarterback they'll have next year.
Even if it's a rookie quarterback, is it going to be let's say they get Shadur Sanders.
They're going to be in the running.
Don't have an offensive line.
They're going to be top 5. They're going to get a top 5 pick. That's for sure.
Right.
I believe that for sure.
Let's say you get Beck or Sanders. What? You still don't have an offensive line. You only have one wide receiver to throw to. So what? You just double him. Now what?
They're in a Giants are like if there's any team that I feel like is in a worse spot than the Broncos. Because I feel like the Broncos are starting to trend up. I feel like the Giants are still like down like here. Because they just like there's no hope for the Giants right now.
They're in a free fall, it seems like. I mean, honestly.
Cheers, sir. Cheers, Robert. Absolutely.
I got a fantasy outlook for you guys. It's very easy. The only guy that I think you can draft and at least feel good about, and only feel good about, if you draft him as your 3rd or 4th running back, is Devin Singletary. I don't feel great about it, but it's at least a guy I've seen like production from. So,
yeah, I don't even think I see a scenario where he may not even be the top running back.
So probably 4th.
Yeah.
If you get him as your 4th running back, I feel like you're like, okay, that's good. I can plug him in when I need him.
Sure.
The problem, I actually, this is great for us. Any smart fantasy players will understand. Neighbors has great talent, and he probably is going to be amazing at some point in his career. But it's not going to be in fantasy this season.
No, I would be.
He's going to be overvalued.
In all honesty, I would be amazed if he goes over 800 yards and more than 5 touchdowns.
I mean, I can see 800. I could see 3 to 5 touchdowns, but I think he's going to be overvalued.
Oh yeah,
to the point that you could draft. I think Neighbors will go higher than Scary Terry in some drafts, or maybe in 70% of drafts.
And I will be ecstatic when I see that happen in my leagues.
Right. Robert, write that down.
Draft Malik Neighbors in the 3rd.
No, don't write that down. Right. Don't draft Malik Neighbors. Because I think he's one of the guys that's like his name's hot. People watch the highlights. He's just not in a good situation for fantasy or in life. But
I always like New York City is like the most expensive place to live in the country, right? And a lot of people end up going across the river or whatever, the water, and they go over to New Jersey, and that's where they live, and it's cheaper and stuff. But I would be so bummed if I was a rookie going into those situations because you get taxed up the wazoo, living expenses are insanely pricey, and those rookie deals are not what they used to be. So you are struggling compared to your peers when you have to go into those situations. And then on top of all of that, you're going to a team that's not any good. That is brutal.
I mean, he kind of looks and smiling in the picture I snapped of him with Goodell. but I think that's a fake smile.
Well, yeah, he's
not
smiling
happy.
because he's like, damn, I made the league. But in the back of his mind, he's like, I'm going to the Giants. Yeah.
He ain't happy.
Yeah.
He ain't happy there.
No.
That's a fake smile. All right. Talk about the team I think will win the division. And I feel like is going to play a lot better than last season. The Philadelphia Eagles.
Look, I'm going to say this right now. If you don't have Saquon as one of your top 3 running backs going into next year and a at worst early second round pick, you are doing something wrong with
Well, I mean, I guess it depends on what type of league you're playing in.
No,
but
it doesn't.
Well, I play in a super flex league with 2 quarterbacks that only like 2 players get drafted in the first round.
Pinky, because you guys have limitations and you can only carry 2 quarterbacks and all the other crazy shit that goes on with it. That is not a normal standard super flex league even.
It matters. I mean, Saquon Barkley's a first round pick.
Yeah.
In most fantasy leagues. In most formats as well.
If you're playing some off the wall rules and scoring, then okay, I can see where you're not taking him. But if you're not taking him in the first or at the very least early second, you're doing something wrong. That dude, there is a very real possibility in that offense he can finish above Christian McCaffrey in fantasy this year.
Look, if he is healthy the full season, 2,000 yards from scrimmage is a absolute possibility.
Oh, dude, that should be, yeah, that should be kind of what you expect, in all honesty.
Like 1,400, 600, 1,500, 500.
Yep.
Yeah, it's going to be
15 total touchdowns, one way or another, right in that ballpark.
It's going to be nasty.
And you're looking at what, probably 50-ish catches from him. I mean, he's going to be a stud.
Yeah,
absolutely stud.
Absolutely. For me, Philly last season, and again, they were like 10-1 or 11-1. They were like, it was crazy. And then they fell apart. And just... I truly believe that was their offensive coordinator and their defensive coordinator both sucked. When they started playing real teams down the stretch, they just fell apart. Now they have Kellen Moore on offense. Kellen Moore, I don't know if he's a great OC, but I do think he's good enough.
The jury is still out on him. We thought Boy Wonder was going to be a head coach in waiting at Dallas. Then McCarthy got brought in and gave him the boot, which was stupid that Jerry Jones allowed that to happen. But then he went to San Diego. We all know what happened in San Diego last year. Shit show from the beginning, right? Nothing went right.
They just didn't. I mean, injuries, O-line issues, wide receiver stuff.
So we still don't quite know what Kellen Moore is capable of, and now he's being given the golden goose. In all honesty, so if he cannot just run an epic offense this year, his head coaching opportunities will be over. I don't see that happening, though. I do still have faith in Kellen Moore, and the amount of talent on the offensive side of the ball in Philadelphia, in my personal opinion, is the best in the league.
Say that again.
Philadelphia's offensive talent is the best in the league.
If it's not, it's definitely top 3.
I would go Philadelphia 1, San Francisco 2, and then you could go, I'd probably give a tie with Kansas City and Green Bay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Oh, yeah. You're probably right. Cheers. I'm out of alcohol and blackberries, but I'm just, and then getting Vic Fangio as defense coordinator. Vic Fangio's a good defensive coordinator. He had Miami's defense playing really well down the stretch until they lost both their edge rushers to injury.
Didn't they lose one of their cornerbacks at the same time as well?
They did.
Howard?
Yeah.
Didn't Howard go down?
Yeah. They lost Howard.
So injuries hurt Miami really bad too.
You already mentioned Saquon with that O-line. Yeah, they lost Kelsey, but they already had a guy in waiting to replace Kelsey. Cam Jurgens will move over and replace Kelsey. Eagles secondary was probably their weakest unit last season. What did they do
to help that out?
They go and sign CJ Gardner-Johnson back, who was awesome in their defense. And then they draft 2 corners, first round, second round. And they get Quinyon Mitchell, who's arguably the best corner in the draft. And then they got Cooper DeJean, who was the best like athlete. His athletic stats from the draft are amazing, which is funny because he's a white corner. So most people won't believe it, but his athletic testing was higher than any other corner.
I like him as a cornerback a lot, but I could see a scenario where he becomes one of the top safeties in the game.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to play corner for long. I think he'll play a couple seasons at corner and then they'll move him to safety.
But that's what's disgusting about what Philly's been doing over the last couple of years. They stack talent on top of talent. They're not just taking luxury picks. They're stacking talent of need upon talent of need, which isn't supposed to be allowed in the NFL.
Howie Roseman is definitely playing chess while a lot of teams are playing checkers.
For sure.
And they're really good. Fantasy-wise, it's pretty easy. Jalen Hurts, Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, Saquon,
Dallas Goedert.
Dallas Goedert's the dark horse for me. If you grab Dallas Goedert a little bit later, because he had a little bit of a down season because of injuries.
Yep.
You can get him a little bit later. I think he's going to produce high value.
Can easily be top 5 tight end.
So
easily, if he plays the whole season.
Again, we mentioned it earlier. I'm high on the Eagles. They're one of the teams I'm excited to watch play this season, especially after last season ended. Game one is Eagles-Packers. Both teams I'm excited to see this season. Game 1 in Brazil.
Neither
super
team
excited.
Green. That'll be interesting to see what colors they come out in.
I mean, I would expect Green Bay wears
I was waiting for
yellow.
that to come out, Caleb. That's going to be one of the most interesting, most messed up color.
They're wearing their home colors in the stadium.
Is Green Bay going to wear yellow and Eagles wear white?
Here's what's funny to me. You've got players coming out saying this is the shit the NFL told us, and then the NFL coming out going, we didn't say. We're totally good with what Brazil has to offer. There's no safety issues at all. We never said players to stay in their hotel. Bullshit, NFL. Whoa. Behind closed doors, you told the players all of those things. But to save face and not piss off Brazil and try to make this seem like a good idea and continue these international games and all the like, to the media and the public facing, you're saying it's going to be great. There's no issues. Bullshit.
Look, I'm going to be honest. I will never be rich by any means. If I ever go to South America, I will be staying at the resort. I will not be traveling anywhere else. I'm going to stay at the resort. That's it. No traveling anywhere else. Just the resort. Because I know it is not safe out there.
It's not as bad as they're kind of making it sound. I got a buddy good buddy of mine, married a Brazilian, and they go down there on a regular basis. He travels all over the country and has never had any issues. So, there's give and takes to all of it, but you will not be able to convince me that the NFL didn't tell their players all those things behind closed doors and then they're saying something completely different to the public.
I'm going to have to check this out. I just got a thing saying Jake Paul's still fighting on July 20th.
If that's true, that means Conor McGregor is his opponent. And that will bum me the hell out.
Yeah, it says reportedly has new opponent to face Mike Tyson.
Unless it's his brother, which I think would be super badass if they actually did that.
Oh, no, it's Mike Perry.
Ugh.
I don't even know who that is. So,
Jake.
bare knuckle fighting championship star Mike Perry.
Better talk to your boy. He'll be able to tell you.
Okay, so it's not Connor. All right. I need UFC 303 to happen. Did you get the pass yet?
Yeah, to come watch the fight. Whether or not I'll be able to come earlier to do the draft, that might, yeah, I'm not sure on that one yet.
We're drafting that night?
No, picking the draft order.
Oh, okay.
Well, if you can commit to that, like I can have you pick the draft order while we're watching fights.
That's done. Kaylee wanted to come, but doesn't necessarily feel good about having somebody come and watching the kids that late at night and not being around. And so we just don't really have anybody here that can do that. So she decided she's not going to come, but she said I'm more than welcome to. So I'll kind of like a podcast night is what it'll look like probably.
Okay. Well, I haven't put it out on the draft thing yet because I was making sure you got the pass. So if you got the pass, we'll make it happen.
We will definitely be able to set the order that night. It just looks like it'll probably be during the fights rather than being able to come earlier.
It's not really that hard, but
no,
I'll invite everyone to good company for the fights and the draft order we picked. If you can't make it, better have your phone with you.
We're good. All
right.
She already said, I told her this is a fight I really want to be at. Pinky's been talking to us, wants us both to come, so on and so forth. And she was down until logistics of getting somebody to come watch the kids during that time wasn't quite working out. So I will be there though, for sure. We're already good.
Okay. All right. That sounds good. Final thoughts, boys?
Final thoughts, Pinky.
I'm going to go back to our boy Clayton. There's some Bo Nix highlights from today that just had me going, oh, damn. Again, it's against air. It's against air, but
Bo Nix isn't the issue, guys. Bo Nix is not the issue.
Look, we haven't had a lot to be hopeful for. So when we do have something to be hopeful for, I'm going to just buy into it. And I am liking what I'm seeing. I'm liking what I'm hearing. I've watched the Sean Payton press conferences. I will say there's something different. He is excited for this season. Or last season, he did not, watch those press conferences from last year. He was not excited.
He never wanted Russ. He never wanted him. He was waiting the whole season to just be able to cut and dump. Everybody knows that. There's no surprises.
I know. Again, and that's where he's got that excitement now. Again, I've had a lot of Broncos fans what do you mean? I was like, bro, I still think we're going to win 6 games. And I'm still going to be happy. I still think we'll be good. I just don't think we're going to win. I think it's going to take some time to get that train rolling.
Yeah.
But I am more positive for the future outlook than I normally would be.
Fair. Robert, final thoughts?
Friday, 1:00, baby.
Friday, let's go Germany.
Ready for some good football again. But no, all seriousness, I'm excited to dissect the divisions as we go through, or the different conferences and the divisions. So that way I can get some more knowledge, kind of build up what we're doing. Yeah, man, it's going to be exciting. And dude, NBA finals are exciting right now. Very curious to see what's going to happen with some of the injury stuff that happened with Porzingis, since it's a day-by-day thing. Because, again, Caleb, when we were talking last week, it was Celtics in 4. But now we're thinking a gentleman's sweep. Be interested to see what's going to happen with that. But, again, you know me, the nonsense guy, the boys, House of the Dragon, Thursday and Sunday. Let's go.
10 o'clock.
Yes, and yes. gotta love a summer that doesn't turn into a dead season. And you gotta love a show that goes way over our normals and feels like it flew by. So, Pinky, welcome back, my guy. Always great when we're all here. Do not take those opportunities, family, friends, loved ones, for granted. Make sure you cherish those moments. Take advantage of them as often as you can. You guys will never know how much we appreciate your support and your involvement and willing to listen to us regardless of what we're talking about. Appreciate all of you. Till next week, we're out. Peace.
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast's racking up the